Really? Oh,
30
yeah.
and 13.
It was his first year? Dang, that's tough.
30 and 13 and fired.
It's a cold world out there.
Somewhat underperforming.
30 and 13.
I mean, they just picked up Damian Lillard.
Would you expect him not to lose?
Well, not to lose, but maybe it'd be better than 30 and 13.
There is a little bit of that. Like who's the best record in the league? Where the Celtics were undefeated at home until over the weekend. How about yesterday in the NBA, actually, which we don't talk a lot about, but Embiid and
Cat.
132 points between the two of them.
They lost. Shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who got 62 from their star and lost.
Yeah. Celtics are 34 and 10.
34 and 10.
Is that the best?
Yes.
Yeah, so
these boys are only 3 games
guys
worse?
are off 3 games.
And by the way, tied with the Timberwolves for second best record in the league. But I think the expectations were higher, and I don't think it's going so well in Milwaukee behind the scenes as well.
That's what it kind of sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
It's kind of a little bit sad just because Dame spent so much time in Portland with nobody, like no help. Like old school LeBron treatment when LeBron was in Cleveland, and Cleveland was just like, he'll be enough. And that's what they were doing in Portland with Dame, and then he finally got fed up. Finally, after years of rumors that they were going to trade him or he was going to ask for a trade, finally leaves. And sure, 30 and 13 sounds good on the surface, but not going well behind the scenes.
I think I already saw a thing that said they're eyeing Doc Rivers. It's like, oh, okay, we can get Doc Rivers
Love
instead.
Doc.
This makes a lot of sense.
You love Doc?
I love Doc Rivers.
Why? I feel like most people don't say that.
I've always loved him as a coach. I've always thought of him as even-keeled, right? He's great with superstars, a la Phil Jackson. It actually reminds me a little bit of that Zen-like demeanor, as long as he's not yelling at the refs. Because Doc does like to go in on the refs a little bit.
Who doesn't?
Doc was a good player, too. People forget that part.
Really?
It was UNC, and then he was on the Knicks. He was on a few teams.
Yeah, he was played for a long time.
Yeah.
Really good.
Shout out basketball.
Yeah, there you go. A little NBA talk. I was going to 70 points is no joke. It's like,
no, it's legit. It's fine.
But Embiid is just unbelievable.
Bro could have lended 9 to Sabonis, who I had for 20 points or more.
I just don't watch a lot of the NBA.
Yeah.
But I've watched Embiid like 2 times in the last week. Been on a little, and it's like he's tough to take your eyes off anyway because he's just so gifted for a man that big.
Yeah.
Like these other guys, obviously we say the same thing about Giannis, right? I think, and we've said it over the years about others, including Kevin Durant, who hit like a pump fake jumper yesterday while in the air.
Bro's
like
locked
Giannis,
into the NBA right now.
Giannis and KD have a thinner frame that makes it easier for me to understand how they kind of move so flowy.
Exactly. That's a difference.
That's why I look at Wembanyama, and even though he's like extremely tall to move like that, he's still thinnish in frame. So you're like, all right, he can at least laterally move a little bit easier. But Embiid is just an amazing
He's a freight
guy
train.
to watch. Yeah.
Like there was a of course he can shoot it. Everybody can shoot it right from outside. But Embiid, he went downhill, and the body control that he showed to get around a defender near the basket. This was like last week's game. It's like, my goodness, that should not be allowed to happen. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And just so gifted. And I know people who watch NBA are like, yeah, no kidding. Embiid's really good. Great. We're just checking it out, okay?
And like a good teammate, too, according to his teammates. Like, he's actually liked in the locker room by everyone not named James Harden.
Yeah, I think they'd be, nobody roots for Philly, but I think, like, he's an easy guy to root for to win it all.
Embiid?
Yeah. It seems like a good character in the NBA, too.
By the way, my Sabonis bad beat has been one-upped by Mark DeVoli, who said there was a 13-legger on the line, and the team that scored 60, didn't win, cost him the 13-legger.
No, he had 12 out of 13?
That's brutal. Could you imagine?
Oh.
Oh, my goodness.
Mark should reach out to me. I'll help him out with some betting advice.
Don't.
I'm 0 for my last 29.
Pro. Bet on something that's like minus 300,000. Just a guaranteed lock.
A day later, seems like people like this Ryan Nielsen pick. I know you guys talked about it yesterday, so I'm not going to go
cool.
crazy on it.
What else are you going to talk about today, Brent? Let's go.
Listen, I got a ton of stuff, but my voting's still doing pretty well. Did you see my latest poll question?
I have not seen what the stats are at. I did see
862 votes with 3 hours to go.
Okay.
That's just okay.
A little lackluster.
We're the off-season.
That's fine.
It's the off-season.
They hired a coach. It's just okay.
A little lackluster.
It's a DC.
So,
but
it's the biggest thing that's going to happen.
You tell that to the boss when the boss looks at your overnight ratings. You're like, it's the off-season, boss.
Yeah, well, actually, you do.
Oh, never mind.
All right.
Football season or not. I mean, it kind of makes a difference.
We should try that.
Yeah.
So I put like it, love it, hate it. Like it's at 63, love it 33, hate it 4%.
I voted on that.
It's hard to find when you vote.
I didn't realize that was you, dog. I did vote on that, though. Somebody else retweeted it.
You're just moving
Voted
quickly.
like it,
I voted love it.
love it.
Love it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Kasey kind of landed there during the show yesterday. I think you were open to it at the beginning, and by the end of the show, I think you were all in with all 3 feet.
Yeah, I hadn't really had time to, 3 feet. I had time
Just in case.
to think about it. And then as we were talking it through, I think it makes a lot of sense what they did. So, yeah, I think it's a good day. I think it's a good hire.
Yeah, I talked to Calais Campbell a little bit yesterday, just back and forth
A little
about
name drop, a little humble
Name
flex.
drop, all right.
Don't worry about me, guys.
Well,
Just
the guy-
talking to the world's biggest superstars.
Well, the guy played for him this past year.
Led the
That's
team
true.
in sacks. Did you know?
Did he lead the team in sacks?
6.5, yeah.
Wow, it was a great year for him.
Research uncovered by Kasey Kuhrts.
Tied for the lead, but who's counting?
Yeah,
Half the league in
I would
research?
claim.
He's leading. He's leading that thing. His name comes up first because it starts with a C. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good.
So, but, I mean, it was pretty quick with Calais. He said he's a great guy and said it's going to be awesome for Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Like, he thinks they'll really shine in this. And then I saw that from some other folks as well that echoed that kind of sentiment. And some of it with Nielsen was that they didn't really have edge rushers. As you can, I mean, Calais.
Oh, in Atlanta, you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they didn't have, and he still made that defense work pretty well.
And Grady Jarrett missed half the year.
So I think that bodes well. The things that I keep seeing on it is all the metrics, by the way, add up. Like if you see what he did in New Orleans, if you see what he did last year in Atlanta, I mean, the improvements were pretty astounding, actually. And they had a lot of investment in their defense from guys like Jesse Bates to others. They already have good corner play anyway. So they had some pieces there to begin with, and we know that. I think the big question around here that I keep seeing people wonder about, okay, what about Tyson Campbell? What about Darius Williams? What about this man coverage? Are you okay enough in the secondary? Are you okay enough at linebacker? But up front-wise, they think this is going to be a big win. Most people do for the Jacksonville Jaguars with Ryan Nielsen. So we'll see. I mean, I think this is an appetizing job. I think if you're a guy like Nielsen, you got the duo that led the league in sacks. Like, that's a nice place to walk into. But can he make the interior play better? Will they add? Will they go get help? Will they make an investment at corner in the draft? Do they need – like, a lot of people are like, well, Tyson Campbell can't play man. Listen, I get what the metrics say, and I understand it. And everybody's got styles and strengths and weaknesses. I think Tyson Campbell's a gifted player. I think he can play man. I think maybe somebody's got to coach him up better on it. Or if that's going to be your main thing, or your parts have to be good around it. You know, there are a variety of reasons why the Jags had to go to zone from last year, even into this past season, and play more of it. Was Tyson Campbell the only reason? No, I think he can be good enough at that spot for you. Again, strengths and weaknesses. Does it play into his hand? Maybe not, but I think I saw a metric where they said man 60-something% of the time, which is a lot, which means you're also in zone a decent amount of times. So it's not just about Tyson Campbell is my point. Like, I that's what I keep seeing. It's like, well, you're better at corner. Tyson's like, I don't know. Are you accentuating his biggest strength? Maybe not, but I think he's a good player and has a lot of good attributes that could probably play a bunch of different styles if done well with everything else around him.
I do think the man versus zone conversation is very closely related to the edge rusher versus other blitzers going after the quarterback conversation. I do think in Atlanta, because of the lack of edge rushers, going to man made it easier for him to scheme up some blitzes that helped other guys get to the quarterback. And in those terms, I would like to see, if I'm a Jaguars fan, some more production coming from people not named Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker when it comes to chasing down the quarterback. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to see out of this new defense. Guys like Devin Lloyd getting after it. Guys in the middle getting after it. I think that would be a nice little wrinkle to this team that we hadn't seen yet.
The other thing that's jumping out here today, are you seeing some of the, like, really feels like the last couple of days, the bulky stuff continues to surface.
It's smokier?
Well, just more noise about it. Like, it's very interesting to me. If you read, Jags Twitter can be fascinating. And so this is just from Jags Twitter, which I always say, hey, listen, that's a percentage of people. It's not everybody's thoughts out there. As much as I love Twitter, it's still a percentage of people. And it almost feels still like when I read through, it's like people want Press Taylor gone so much that they'll actually side with Balky if Press Taylor stays. Like, we have reached that point of craziness on social media that everybody who wanted Balky gone for 2 years and wants him gone says, hey, you know what? You can stay, basically. This is my, interpretation of it. You can stay as long as we get rid of Press Taylor.
Yeah.
It's just, it's some, crazy level of toxic around those two men on Jags Twitter right now. There's also this prevailing thought that, Balky made this decision, was the heavy in the decision. Guys, the coach picks the coaching staff. Now, maybe input, all this other stuff around. I'm hoping it's kind of a collaborative thing within the building. That means you're working well. People are painting it as a power struggle thing. I don't know. But I do think the coach of the football team picks the coaching staff.
Seems to be the way it's always worked. And I would also say that a disagreement between Balky and Peterson doesn't constitute a power struggle. You could have a disagreement on how you feel about a person or their strengths or weaknesses you think they have, and it doesn't mean there's all-out civil war happening inside the Jags organization.
Casey, what's your read on it?
I think in terms of, obviously, to what you said, Doug, I believe, picks the coaching staff, so shout out to that. It's wild that we're here with Press Taylor. Obviously, the Bengals stuff is now intriguing with that.
And that brings it to the forefront more, right?
Yeah, but, again, I think you can only do what you had if you're Press Taylor, and you couldn't run for a yard. You couldn't run up the middle. So I think it goes back to what you're calling, what you could call, what you were able to do, and then guys executing.
What am I missing? What's the Bengals stuff?
Well, the hiring of Callahan opens up the OC.
Okay.
And that's his brother.
Yes.
Which I don't think – I actually want to talk about that in just a little bit, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's the case. I don't know if they really – that sounds good from a family perspective. Oh, that's cute. And I just don't know if that's really where they want to go with it. I think the Callahan hire is interesting on a couple of fronts, which we'll get to. But let's just stay on this for a moment. There's just a lot of noise right now about – again, a struggle, a disagreement, a this or that. Who's the heavy in there? Again, I believe that Doug Peterson should be the heavy-handed person in that room if there needs to be one. But I've also said many times on the show, I think our perception of that is not necessarily the Khan's perception of that. I think Shad Khan and Tony Khan think more highly of Trent Baalke than any of you.
And they gave him the job.
They gave him the job and didn't waver on that front.
Still not.
Kept him a big part. He's their football guy. That's the football guy that helped pick Doug Peterson as the coach. Helped pick the roster, helped pick everything else. But I just don't think, Doug Peterson has a Super Bowl trophy. Doug Peterson, I think, is going to pick his staff. I saw somebody say, and I don't know who it was, so and it might just been a comment, but somebody's like, well, Doug didn't really want Mike Caldwell to go. It's like, yeah, he did. He obviously wanted to make that change. That's not a change that Trent Baalke's making. That's not a change that Shad Khan's making, quite frankly.
I'm not sure those things are mutually exclusive, though. There could be a situation where he didn't want him to go, but was given an edict that a change had to be made somewhere.
Yeah, I think that edict comes down in a place like Philadelphia. I'm just not sure if that edict comes down in Jacksonville in this situation. Now, I've given you examples and said I feel like there are times even in news conferences that Doug hints that there's some frustration with the defense over the last 2 years. And that does not mean he doesn't like Mike Caldwell, doesn't think he knows how to coach, but I think he has wrestled with it probably more than he wants to. I really thought he'd go with a guy that's been the defensive coordinator. In this instance, Ryan Nielsen has, because he doesn't want to deal with it. The one thing about Caldwell is he hadn't been to DC before. And is that different between calling plays and doing all the other things that you need to do and want to do? I thought Caldwell did a lot of good things.
Were you surprised when you saw it was Ryan Nielsen based on the resume? I was a little bit surprised. I thought the hire would be someone with a longer tenured resume.
Well, he was like the assistant or co-DC, I think it was, in New Orleans.
For a year.
Yes, yeah.
But I think the latter was there to say he probably had a pretty heavy hand in their defense or continued to get more and more responsibility, even if not the title said that. That's kind of the way I interpreted it. But you're talking about maybe like a Ron Rivera?
Yeah.
Or somebody
like
like that.
Leslie Frazier, someone who's been around league circles for over a decade doing this thing.
Listen, I would agree with you on this front. I thought all along it would be a guy that had experience being a defense coordinator. I would say I would have put Leslie Frazier pretty high on the list just based off connections and relationships and also experience. And he's been very good for a long time in that spot and done a good job. And also head coach capability. I mean, again, that's a guy that can, he can handle that side of the ball and that side of the ball only, and Doug can just concentrate on this side of the ball. So, but they must feel that way with Nielsen. This isn't a rookie. Like if you had, I bring the example of Anthony Weaver, defensive line coach, but he's also like an assistant head coach, associate head coach in Baltimore. But he actually hasn't been, well, he was a DC actually in Houston, so this would be a bad example. But if you're just taking a guy that was a defensive line coach somewhere or a linebackers coach, and he's your next hot name being promoted, I didn't see that situation taking place in Jacksonville because I think Doug wants to focus on the offense.
So Ryan Nielsen gets to town. A couple of question marks right now on that defensive side of the ball in terms of roster, construction, contracts. If you're Rayshon Jenkins, Trey Herndon, or Darius Williams, are you concerned at all? Are you happy? Do you think this is a signal to them in any way whatsoever?
Give me the three again.
Rayshon Jenkins, Darius Williams, and Trey Herndon. Three names who we're not sure if we'll see in Jaguars uniforms next year.
Yeah, I think there's definite concern. I don't think we're going to see Rayshon Jenkins in a Jags uniform. I think they can move on from some of those dollars at this time. I think some of his inconsistencies. I like Rayshon a lot, too, but I just think this might be, would they get 3 years out of him on a 4-year deal? That seems like, okay, that's pretty good. Darius Williams Herndon, by the way, is a free agent. So I also think they're going to probably move on from him and try to upgrade. They also have Antonio Johnson, who can play both those spots just mentioned, safety,
right,
and they've drafted that guy, or the nickel spot where he played pretty well, too. I do think Darius Williams is interesting. What I say about it right now, is everybody's talking man, press, all this stuff. Williams is an undersized guy at that position. Will he be able to play that? Do you want him playing that? Can you go younger there? Can you save money there? I feel like he and Rayshon are definitely good chances of being casualties on this roster. I don't know if they worry about that stuff. I don't know if that even meant which DC was going to be hired. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if that was a Ryan Nielsen thing. I think that might have been a roster build thing and an economic thing, either way. But
I'm
not
just wondering if the hire
one
says anything to anybody. But
the
the decision may have been independent of that anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel that way. I don't feel specific about one player or another player with this system. And I might be wrong about it, but I just don't. I feel like this is more, when we're questioning guys, we're talking about two things on the defense: upgrade and economics. And where do they fall? And some might be, like, I think Rayshon might be an economic decision. You do have Wingard. You do have Antonio Johnson. You can maybe move on from that spot. Darius Williams is a real interesting one for me. He played a lot of good ball. But he might be the one where fit comes into play more than anything else.
And then in the chat, Glenn wants to know if you heard any truth behind the Jaguars' interest in Michigan's defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter.
I just heard the same reports that everybody else did. So, that would have made – I would have got excited, a little bit more excited maybe about that Baltimore-style defense because I see what it's doing.
Really?
Why, you wouldn't?
No, I hated that idea. Not
because
the defense
of the
idea.
college coach?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. But anything with that Baltimore style I think is it's obviously the number one scoring defense. It's a very good style right now. Now, you need the players.
They got playmakers on that defense.
Jags have some playmakers, too, though.
As many as Baltimore?
No, probably not.
You got two All-Pros, just a linebacker.
Yeah, well, the Jags have a leading tackler in the league and linebacker.
Congrats. They got two All-Pros, plus more.
A tandem of pass rushers. They like their safety and corner. I mean, the Jags have some pieces. They're not I don't think they're the Ravens.
You don't think?
Doesn't sound like you don't think.
Bro, they played a whole season. They ain't the Ravens.
Well, the reason why they're not the Ravens is, in my opinion, age and experience at that linebacker position. Well, this isn't the only reason. Age and experience, big-time playmaker in the back end with Hamilton and what he's turned into.
Totally.
And their interior. They'd slide Matabuke all over the place.
Yep.
So versatility there. The Ravens are the Ravens.
Don't forget Clowney.
And pickups like that. The Ravens are the Ravens, but I still think that style is effective right now against certain schemes. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, to me, it's as a scheme game in many ways. How are you going to stop Stroud? Right now, is that the number one thing the Jags have to ask themselves?
Absolutely.
How are you going to stop Stroud in Houston?
Yes. I mean, no. Aside from getting to where you thought you were when you started last season, but yes, if you're talking about specific things with teams you're looking out for, previously it was, how do we stop the run? Because every team in this division runs hard. And now it's, how do we stop a guy like Stroud? Because we're looking up at them right now.
Yeah, I still think that stopping the run's a priority.
Yeah, first of all, by the way, this guy also excels, Gordon, if you read up on him, on stopping the run and gap integrity and all that stuff, which the Jags were good at times. They were. They became very inconsistent. I think they're looking for a guy who can be consistent. Now, this guy in the defense gave up like 37 and 48 points at the end of the year, too. Like, everybody's got their warts.
But they did. You're right. The Jaguars did start the season off one of the better run defenses, and then just kind of got gouged as we got towards the close.
So let's go back to that just for a second. Do you think, now you said it, this was a run division. You had running backs all over the place.
Still do.
Pierce, who, by the way, now you're not worried about Pierce. You're worried about Stroud, right?
Sure. Well, Singletary as well as running out there for 150
yards. But you're definitely worried about Dell, Collins, Stroud, way more than their running game.
There's no in there.
Jonathan Taylor, okay, are you worried about that, or are you worried about Anthony Richardson, the dual threat? And Titans, I'm not really sure what you're worried about, but before you're worried about Henry, looks like he's going to be out of the division, or at least out of Tennessee. So I think you're right, though. I think that's like an interesting part of this in the conversation is, did they make this move? I saw somebody tweet that this defense against the Shanahan schemes did okay against Miami, Houston, and somebody else. So was that a big motivator? Which is also interesting because Slovic could be gone somewhere else if he gets hired, right?
Yeah, that should be something we're all rooting for, right? Bobby Slowick going somewhere else?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing to root for because you know why you root for that? Because then C.J. Stroud has a different coordinator 3 years in a row.
Yep.
But I do think now you start to move puzzle pieces in matchups with a team like Houston and with Indy in mind and other teams. That's the ticket to the postseason. The division's the ticket to the postseason. You have got to be able to match up, beat them on both sides of the football. I don't think they're going to make too many moves offensively that will be dictated by who they play defensively. I think they're going to play that and be like, we can score and we want to score and we need to score and we can beat any scheme. But I do think defensively you start to build yourself around what is in that division and maybe what else is in the AFC. But first you start with the division. And I think Houston comes to mind. And again, this guy, but also that Baltimore one has done pretty well against that Shanahan scheme or has been able to stop it. Better players. Atlanta does not have the players that Baltimore has, right? So I think that's why this makes some sense. And I don't mind that chess match is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The chess match there. And also the thing that I really like about this move is because I looked up Ryan Nielsen and I knew what the identity of his defense was. Like, I mean, they say it. Like, everybody repeats it and says it. And at least I know. Now, they might get burned by it. It might not work.
But there is an identity.
But there's an identity. Like, in reality, I thought what the Bucks did and what Caldwell came over with, they had a lot of pros in that, meaning positives. Like, there are a lot of good things. But I still can't tell you, like, after 2 years of it, what their identity was other than getting the football. But that's a hard thing to plan for, you know? So that's more of, you better hope it happens. Now, they said it was stop the run, but it was sometimes and it wasn't other times. So I like the fact that you know what this is. And I think, by the way, we're going to talk about this relative to some other teams, especially the Detroit Lions. Identity is something the Jaguars are after. Like, they really need to find an identity to their football team. They need to find an identity to both sides of the ball in their style. Because I think if you look around the National Football League, the good teams, you know what it is. The Jaguars, you can guess. You think you might know. But do you really know? More on the coaching carousel and what it means, because there are some wild things going on, in my opinion, on the coaching front so far. We'll be back, ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
I'm Action News Jack's First Alert meteorologist Trevor Gibbs. Warmer today, high temperatures rising to near 73 degrees with mostly cloudy skies, still a few peaks of sunshine, and also tracking the potential for a brief shower or two, but it's not going to amount to much rain. We'll be warmer tonight, low temperatures near 59, and then back into the upper 70s for tomorrow. From the Action News Jack's First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Trevor Gibbs.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, proud to offer a huge selection of both lab-grown and natural diamonds at the lowest prices guaranteed.
Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. August 29th, Daly's Place. With special guests, Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. A great night of incredible rock.
Start the year with a new or used vehicle at Nimnick Buick GMC. New year, new truck. There are trucks, and then there's the truck, the GMC Sierra. I love mine, and you can save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierra 1500s and enjoy rates as low as 0.9% APR financing. Try a Terrain or Acadia with rates as low as 1.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. Used car? Well, try the Car Bravo program. Nimnick certifies all makes and models. NimnickBuickGMC.com or the showroom off Phillips Highway. GMC. We are professional grade.
The Gun Show is back at the Maxwell Snyder Armory on Normandy Boulevard this Saturday and Sunday. Buy, sell, trade, and browse a huge selection of guns, knives, ammo, and more. Doors open at 9 a.m. $10 to enter. See you at the Gun Show.
I'm Lorianne Whittington here with Percy Howlett. We are so grateful to the Players Championship for supporting Pine Castle in our mission to empower individuals with intellectual and developmental differences.
Only 49 days till the Players.
We're dealing at Best Bet St. Augustine, the only card room and sports bar in St. Augustine, Florida. With nonstop action, poker games of all limits, exciting tournaments and table games, and a sports bar showing all the action, Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. Don't miss our delicious dining options, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our always popular freshly made sushi. Best Bet St. Augustine is located at 800 Marketplace Drive off exit 311, where I-95 and State Road 207 meet. Learn more at bestbetjacks.com.
This year, I resolved to have a whole new view in life.
Nice. So what are we talking? New attitude? Maybe new glasses?
Nope. New windows and doors from American Window Products.
New view. I see what you did there.
They're Jacksonville's oldest family-owned replacement window and door company. Great prices, selection, professional installation. They look great, too. And you can save $250 off any entry door and free installation on 6 or more windows in January when you call 731-2247 or visit AmericanWindowProducts.com.
Thanks. I'll give them a look.
You probably have a list of New Year's resolutions for 2024. Well, right now you can make that decision to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain for the rest of the year. Put that on the resolution list. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics right now. Get a free consultation, 904-274-5522, because QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, and QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatments has arrived, and QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, any pain associated with arthritis or even injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again, get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So give them a call right now, QC Kinetics, and get a free consultation, 904-274-5522, 904-274-5522.
Hey, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks. Did you know you can watch our radio show? Yeah, video of a radio show. Just search ESPN 690 Jacks on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or follow me on Twitter at Brent A.S. Jacks. Watch the show live weekdays from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. or listen on ESPN 690. There's one thing I haven't been able to stop thinking about, and it's not you two. It's the Lions where they sit right now relative to the Jags. And I'm going to get into it a little bit later, but I think it's deeper than the roster. What happened, I put something out on Twitter during the game or after the game. I was like, I don't really think the roster's that different for the Lions. Now, some people are like, you're a moron, and they might be right.
Was that your wife?
No, not this time. But I genuinely don't think the rosters are vastly different in a lot of areas. Now, again, you can take some guys over other guys, especially right now compared to what the Jags were playing like at the end.
Sure.
But it's deeper than that. So we'll get into that in a little bit. More about this other coaching first, though, which is wild to me. Bill Belichick, like you have something in our stack today. Belichick has reportedly lost momentum in the Falcons coaching search. This is really pretty crazy to think of a couple of things when it comes to Bill Belichick. One, he's still available.
Yeah.
Two, he can have 2 interviews with the Atlanta Falcons, and they might pass on him.
So I have 2 thoughts on that. Number one, he's still available, but, I mean, who's really made a hire so far? The Titans have reportedly made a hire, and it's kind of a wacky one based on everyone who's available. Like, they didn't necessarily talk to everybody. Like, who else has made a head coaching hire?
Nobody else, because the promotions from within, you mean, like with the Patriots or just with the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, technically. So, I don't know. I didn't think, when I look at Belichick, I saw the 2 interviews up front, and the fact that it hasn't happened yet made me instinctually go, well, what's the problem here? But there may not be. If you read on Atlanta, they've now got in-person meetings scheduled with everybody. I guess they were meeting with everyone virtually first, even though they met in person with Belichick twice. But Harbaugh met with him twice. They're going to meet with Vrabel. That has yet to happen yet. So, I don't know. Maybe they do have their eyes set on Belichick and just are doing due diligence, or at least want to seem that way. Ultimately, Arthur Blank is the guy pulling the trigger there. So, in that sense, I'm not necessarily shocked that Belichick is still out there. What was the second point you made again?
Well, out there, but also that they might pass on him. Like, basically, just the idea that they've brought him in. They look like they're the only team that's actually brought him in.
Yeah.
They bring him in twice. They're trying to set a record for interviews, Atlanta.
I mean,
they are interviewing everybody.
They plan to conduct second interviews with Jim Harbaugh, which I think was yesterday. Raheem Morris, Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. You got Anthony Weaver, who we talked about earlier, Mike McDonald, who we talked about earlier, Ajero Evero, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. Then they also reportedly plan to interview Mike Vrabel, who they haven't yet, Joe Brady from the Bills, and Steve Wilkes from the 49ers.
That's unbelievable.
It's a lot of guys.
Now, I don't know how much of this is on Belichick. Maybe he just doesn't want to go to certain places. He's like, this is the one. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you got to have some, you know what, to be able to pass on Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Schachter talk about this, and I get it to some degree, but he brought up this morning on ESPN 690 that there were only 2 teams interested at the time in Brady when he was available. 30 other teams were like, no, we're good.
Yeah, that's...
And I don't know how 32 teams can't say, let's take a look at this when it comes to Belichick or Brady. Now, listen, this is coming from a guy who doesn't think Belichick has a ton left. Maybe they don't either. But if you're hiring a new coach in this cycle and you think you can go with a bunch of these names and pass over Belichick, you better know what you're doing is the point. That's really the point of the story. Like, you better know what you're doing. If you're going to pass up on that, and what a lot of people are saying is he needs all this other stuff in place, and so he's got to bring everything down, and it might change too much might disrupt your organization. Maybe he thinks you're at a place where you don't think. And I go back to the Jags. This was a story when Josh McDaniels and Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin, like during that whole hiring cycle, when McDaniels apparently wanted to blow it up, start all over, mostly because of the quarterback position. And he might have been right when it comes to the quarterback position, but it looks like Coughlin, Marrone, Schad, whoever else was right on the rest, because that year they go to the AFC Championship game. Blowing it up was not the best option.
Would have been another last-place finish for Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, so I think there's something to be said for that. And I'm just saying, you better be really convicted.
I don't think that that's the case, though. I don't think there's any accountability whatsoever in those cases at all. I mean, we know it. There is no accountability when it comes to passing on quarterbacks. That's just not a thing. You mentioned Brady as an example. You can mention Lamar as the example as well. Looking back on the season Lamar just had, you're telling me people wouldn't have given 2 first-rounders for that?
Yeah, I think. But I think there are some, like Carolina. I think they're taking it on the chin and then some for the Lamar stuff, or even for the trade, the way it went down.
But only because Bryce Young looks so much worse than C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, but if he continues, that will follow them for the next few years if he's a bust. The only way you turn that around is if he's good.
They just get the next guy.
So that's my point. Like, if they hire somebody and they're good and they can get you to the playoffs and then some, you can't guarantee Belichick was going to win you the Super Bowl. What you can guarantee is Belichick probably wasn't going to make you like 5-12 or 4-13. If this guy comes in and doesn't do well, then you got a problem. And again, how much is this on Belichick? I don't know. But it's just a wild thing. I just think it's fascinating.
I did see a report before Belichick had his second interview with Atlanta, and that was the report said, through unnamed sources, that Jerry Jones reached out to Belichick before announcing he was sticking with McCarthy.
Yeah.
And Belichick didn't feel like he was interested or maybe was unavailable. And that was before the Josina Anderson report that Belichick and the Falcons were basically a done deal, which still may be true. Time will tell. But that's really the only other report I heard to that point. You look at these other teams, it certainly doesn't seem like the Commanders would be interested. The rumor is they're looking for new, fresh, young blood, and that is not Belichick.
Yeah, and I get it. I get that. Like, the other part of the Belichick thing is you got probably a 3-year window. But, like, that seems to make sense for me in Atlanta. They've got some older guys on the defensive end. They've got some guys going into their 3rd, 4th, 5th year, whatever, on the offensive end. They also have an owner who's 81 years old who wants to win right now.
Even if it was a young team, wouldn't it make sense? Because you got Belichick just training the next regime. Like, it's a 3-year internship.
I think you can ask if there's relatability there with some of the young players. I mean, maybe that would be a concern. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or maybe you have to do too much on offense and find the quarterback, and they don't trust Belichick to do that. He couldn't do it in the last couple of years after Brady. I'm just telling you, you got to have some guts to pass on Bill Belichick, and you better be right if you do. That's it. The hiring cycle's wild. What about Brian Callahan, Casey, to Tennessee? That surprise you? And it certainly doesn't make you shake in your boots in the AFC South, I wouldn't think.
Nah, it's kind of weird. I don't get it. They're going to be throwing it around, I guess, is what that says. I don't know, but it's not – I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah, it's a really weird this is dangerous to do, by the way, from a fan, even media perspective. Well, what a bogus move that was. That was a dumb move, right? That doesn't make sense. You lose Vrabel, you get this guy. They're going to lose for the next 5 years. That's not how it works all the time. So be careful on that. But I will say, on face value, on the surface – you took away Mike Vrabel and you put a guy in who's never coached. And the guy might be good, but he's going to go coach, and he obviously believes in Will Levis, which is good for Will Levis and maybe the Titans. But we all wonder if he's right about that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was 100% agreement on that probably in their hiring process. It almost makes it feel like they wanted an offensive guy. They had to also find a guy that thought Levis could work.
Yeah, or a guy who specializes in developing quarterbacks, which is the book on Callahan.
But it still feel like it's a weird thing coming out of Cincinnati, and I'm not locked in every day to Cincinnati, but Zach Taylor's an offensive guy, which feels like his offense. Now, Callahan does have good credentials, including his dad, but just wild. And how about this? Every offensive coordinator's been replaced since last year.
That sounds a little bit different than I think it is in real life. Some or a bunch of those jobs turned over because guys got better jobs, which is a thing that happens. Then,
true.
Now you're talking about head coaches turnover as opposed to offensive, right? As opposed to offensive coordinator turnover. But the point shouldn't be lost on people that, especially on offense, especially for quarterbacks, but really for all offensive skill positions, if you're looking for consistency on offense in that playbook, and you're having to swap it out every year or 2 or 3, it can't be helpful. Not for young teams, not for old teams, not for middle-of-the-road teams.
Yeah, I think this is you're not going to want to hear this, Jacksonville, but I think this is part of the reason, like, Press Taylor is here. I think everybody's putting it like loyalty. I think it's continuity. Whether it's Mike McCoy, Doug Peterson, Press Taylor. It's familiar voices. The only guy they've lost is Jim Bob Cooter in that stretch, and maybe Jim Bob Cooter made a big difference by losing him because the Jags weren't the same on offense as even they were the second half of last year. But I think continuity is king here. It's hard to find, and it's also pretty impressive that because even with all the lack of continuity that you see at that spot, that a lot of quarterbacks have still done pretty well.
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
quarterback
that
play in the league's not bad.
I think you can attribute that to while playbooks are changing, maybe they keep some kind of core or base pretty close to home. But to that point, even though the playbook hadn't changed here in Jacksonville, he still changed play callers in the last 2 years. So now he's working on 4 play callers in his last 4 years, Trevor is, despite the playbook being similar year to year last year.
Yeah, don't like that. We mentioned that last week. We talked a lot about this, like the voice, right? The voice is different. The mechanics of it are different. Even if it's the same feel, same guy, you know him, system, all that stuff, that voice does that. I don't think that actually hampered Trevor.
Do you think it hampers press, though? Like, not so much that Trevor has to get used to press and his play-calling tendencies. Do you think press has to get used to Trevor and Trevor's play-calling tendencies?
Maybe. Now, Doug said he did it last year in the second half of games. We'll see. But I just think it hampered the organizational approach of the Jags operation. Let's just say operational approach more so on a play. Because that's why I think we had more. Was that going through Doug and then back to press? And then just the mechanics of that, we don't know. But I think they had a harder time with that for whatever reason this year. Maybe that was just, everybody was back but Calvin Ridley. Like, it doesn't make sense that it would have a harder time. I can only point to 2 differences. Press Taylor was more the voice, and Calvin Ridley was new.
Oh, the difference being you had some musical chairs on the offensive line as well.
You did have that. But, I just think it's pretty wild. The one other thing, maybe I'll save it until we get back.
Ooh.
Because Callahan's an interesting part of this conversation. The gene pool in the NFL.
I like that.
Like, we know, you kind of know it, but I thought about it in the last couple of days. It's astonishing. Coaches and players.
Yeah.
Really wild. And it shows you, kids, that a lot of you have no chance to make it to the league. Hear me out. You got no chance. Just turn and look at mom and dad right now. And you might have no chance.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll be back on ESPN 690.
Brent and Friends is sponsored by Best Bet, now open in St. Augustine.
Here we grow again. Terry Norvell here from the Young and Norvell Show, announcing our new expanded hours as we are now on weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's right. You now have a standing lunch date with me and my broadcast partner, former Gators basketball star and current SEC network analyst Patrick Young, every weekday for 2 solid hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690. You supply the lunch. We provide the most compelling sports talk in town. Find out for yourself weekdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Catch the Young and Norvell Show on ESPN 690.
The January weather has been fluctuating, those temperatures dipping down in the evenings and mornings. Is your heating system safe to use? The team at Bold City Heating and Air specializes in system revitalization and optimizing your system so it runs safe and at peak efficiency. Schedule your winter system checkup for only $49 at boldcityac.com. Bold City Heating and Air can help you save hundreds of dollars on your energy bill, too. Get the checkup, save money, and make sure your AC unit is safe for all the weather conditions. Schedule online at boldcityac.com.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Jasmine is Northeast Florida's only LGBTQ+ youth center, offering health and mental health programs, housing supports, and teen and family initiatives. Jasmine is the safe place our LGBTQ+ young people need right now. Partner to support our effort. Visit jasmine.org today.
ESPN 690 is home for the Florida Sportsman Fishing Show hosted by Captain Rick Riles. Tune in every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. to find out what's biting now. Fishing so fresh, you can almost smell it.
I'm Lorianne Whittington here with Percy Howlett. We are so grateful to the Players Championship for supporting Pine Castle in our mission to empower individuals with intellectual and developmental differences.
Only 49 days till the players.
Hi, Tom Coughlin here. Can you imagine getting the news that your child has cancer? Each year, more than 15,000 kids across the U.S. are diagnosed with this disease. The Tom Coughlin J Fund's goal is to be there for these families so they can be there for their sick child. We offer assistance with household bills, financial coaching, and emotional support. We hope you will join us helping these families. We need you on our team. Give now at tcjfund.org.
Start the year with a new or used vehicle at Nimnick Buick GMC. New year, new truck. There are trucks, and then there's the truck, the GMC Sierra. I love mine, and you can save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierra 1500s and enjoy rates as low as 0.9% APR financing. Try a Terrain or Acadia with rates as low as 1.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. Used car? Well, try the Car Bravo program. Nimnick certifies all makes and models. NimnickBuickGMC.com or the showroom off Phillips Highway. GMC. We are professional grade.
Having someone to talk to can change a life.
Cried out to her. She talked me through my depression.
Or even save a life.
I probably wouldn't be here at all. Not only in this room, but just not here at all if I didn't have the help.
If you need someone to talk to, Jewish Family and Community Services is here with in-person trained counselors or through teletherapy. JFCS is here for Jax. Visit jfcsjax.org.
1 mile, 1 marker, 1 hero. Please help support the Florida Run for the Fallen, presented by Honor and Remember, February 9th through the 11th. Over 170 miles from Tallahassee to Jacksonville, runners will stop every mile to honor an individual service member for their service and sacrifice, ending at the Veterans Memorial Wall at TIAA Bank Field. To learn more and to donate to the Florida Run for the Fallen, visit florida.usarunforthefallen.org. That's florida.usarunforthefallen.org.
Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe. You can watch us on CBS 47 and Fox 30. You can listen right here on ESPN 690. And you can subscribe to our YouTube and podcast, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. Action Sports Jacks. Watch, listen, subscribe. All right, let's get Sean in here, and then we'll do the gene pool thing. Sean, what's happening?
Hey, how you guys doing, man? I'm just calling because I'm curious, Brent, this is more so for you than Casey and Aaron, but when Ashad does his meetings with the media, I think it's like twice a year or something like that, would it be a fair question to ask him, say, hey, do you have a pulse on what the fans actually feel towards your decision-making? Because I'm curious as to how do you not feel, hey, it's time to maybe let Trent go, and even ESPN and all these other media outlets are saying the same thing. Like there's a reason why there's a problem, and is it blindness, arrogance? I'm just curious that when do you ask those questions during those meetings, or if you even can ask those questions? Like, is there a set line that you just don't cross?
Well, Sean, you asked 2 questions, right? The first question you wanted asked was, "Are you aware of the pulse, Brent?" Is what Brent is supposed to ask, but I'm not sure you get the answer to the question you really want, which was the second question you asked Brent to ask, which is to look Shad Khan in the face and go, do you know you're making a mistake right now?
Yeah.
Like,
true. Very true.
Yeah, Sean, I appreciate it. I'll answer. Thanks for the call here on Brent Friends on ESPN 690. First of all, there are no rules.
There are unspoken rules, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jags are pretty open about this stuff. I mean, Shad is there are times when you do an interview with Shad, because there's so much to cover. Stadium,
sure,
downtown.
Yeah.
a new coaching hire. Like, there were times when it's like, okay, this is a business-oriented interview. This is why we requested the interview. And there have been times where it's like, he's not going to get into the football stuff. He's going to leave that up to, like, I remember, hey, that's Tom Coughlin's running the football stuff. That's what we hired him for, right? So in terms of specifics, like, bringing the quarterback back or whatever. And, but I got to be honest with you, too. Like, I feel like Tony understands and knows the pulse of the fan base, sees it. I'm not sure if Shad
really.
Sure, he knows some.
Yeah,
but
like how do you miss it?
But he's not on social media. Is my point. Like he's not. This guy's doing a ton of stuff.
Okay, but he knows about his business, and this is his business.
I get it, but does he know in the bumper business that people are mad at whatever spot on the bumper? Like,
quite possibly.
I don't know.
Let me ask you
this.
this.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. I think he has a feel for it, but there's a difference between having a feel for it and like the pulse of it, like really daily. Again, Tony's on that stuff. Tony's on social media. Tony sees it. People tag Tony. Nobody's like directly messaging Shad. Now, how much communication goes on between Tony and Shad when it comes to that stuff? I don't know. I really don't. Does he relay information? Listen, he has PR people that also relay. That's part of PR's job too, is to relay that. Here's what people are thinking. Here's what people are talking about. So, no, there's usually not parameters to answer Sean's question. But I also will say this, and you're not going to want to hear it. I don't think he makes decisions based on it. Listen, there's a guy, Wayne Weaver was the owner of this football team, and his biggest regret was making a decision based on fan reaction to fire Tom Coughlin. He has said the biggest regret he has as an owner of the Jaguars was firing Tom Coughlin. And he did that based on, from what I understand, I wasn't here, but from what I understand, he did it based on fan reaction.
Sentiment, yeah. I'm going to take a stab at rephrasing the question to see if it is a allowable question. And I put allowable in quotes here because, like you said, there's no list of questions that they're giving you guys that you can't ask. What about asking Shad or Tony what the litmus test is that a GM candidate or person who has the job, like what are the things that has to happen for you to either lose faith or to think it's time to change? Like, what is it that the fan base is waiting to see or thinking that they see that you don't see yet? And what is it that you see in a hypothetical version of this that makes you go, I think it's time to change? With coaches, it's often they lose the locker room or you don't see players playing for them. Yeah. What is that thing with general managers?
I think that's a fair question. I think you can ask that question. I also think it changes. I think it changes.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think that's a moving goalpost in a way. And like Shad's done exit interviews with players. He got feedback from players on coaches and that stuff in the building. And like he's tried it a bunch of different ways. That's why I don't think there's a blueprint. But I think if you're looking at other owners, there's not really a blueprint either of what they do. Is there a blueprint of what Mark Davis is going to do? He didn't hire Bisaccia. He just hired Pierce, right? So
kind of a fool me once situation.
Yeah, listen, I want to get into this a little bit more because in the next hour, coming up in a bit, we're going to do the Detroit Lions and the Jaguars. Because I think it's an excellent comparison at where they were, where they're at, all this stuff. And I think it's deeper than roster. And it's deeper than just coach. And it brings up Shad in this. So I want to get into it. So we'll talk more about some of this. Real quick, though, isn't it why I just did the gene pool in the NFL. We just went over it in the break. Like, I was thinking the Watts, right? Diggs. Bosa's. Callahan just got hired. Dad, son. The Taylors. Shanahan's. Gruden's, Harbaugh's,
the St. Browns.
I mean, it's unbelievable. There's not a lot of players in the NFL. And if you add up the big number, 32 times 50-something and coaches-wise times 32, that's not a huge number.
Yeah.
You think about how many guys have played, and I'm not even talking Asante Samuel Jr., right? The sons of these guys. Isn't it striking how much genes matter? Like, really, you are against it if you don't have the gene pool.
And by the way, we're not counting cousins, and you know there are a ton of people
That's a good call.
Who are cousins in the NFL as well.
Relationship-wise.
Oh, yeah. It also kind of tells you a little bit about, to me, maybe it's not all gene pool. It may be gene pool in addition to who do you know that can help you get situated
especially
somewhere.
on the coaching front.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Kelsey's, by the way. Usually you're not getting in the NFL as a player unless you can play.
Yeah. Or like Mike Shanahan's kids. We're all coaches for John Gruden's kids, Bill Belichick's kids, Buddy Ryan's kids.
Yeah, Buddy
we're all
Ryan's
coaches
kids.
on their teams.
So that part of it certainly does seem a little bit more, maybe less, gene pool, but you got to get it in.
I mean, it is gene pool, but also like familiar gene pool.
Yeah. We'll be back 4 o'clock hour. The Lions and the Jaguars next on ESPN 690.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank, non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. This month, you can get 50% off a Connecticut K5 drinking water system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Series softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 143-2579.
Hey, is this line secure?
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract, and that's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-385-9302 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-385-9302. That's 800-385-9302. What do you have to lose? Call 800-385-9302. Again, 800-385-9302.
Every weeknight at 6 p.m., it's overtime with Kuhrts in Middleton, and check us out right here on ESPN 690.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, 43 games into his first season in Milwaukee, the Bucks fired coach Adrian Griffin, reports ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. The team is second in the NBA's Eastern Conference, 30-13, but concerns with defensive issues and felt the move was needed, explains Woj.
They looked at where this team was, how it was responding under Griffin, although the second best record right now, 30-13, that they have such a tight championship window with Giannis Antetokounmpo, certainly the Damian Lillard trade, which happened after they hired Griffin as head coach. And they made a decision to make the change.
Bucks plan to quickly pursue a small pool of accomplished and available veteran head coaches. Doc Rivers near the top of that list. Heat's getting a much-needed jolt, acquired gifted scoring guard Terry Rozier for Kyle Lowry and a protected 2027 first-round pick. That's also from Woj. Rozier's having one of his best NBA seasons. Miami's dropped 3 straight, is currently 6th in the Eastern Conference. The NBA suspended Cavaliers center Tristan Thompson 25 games after testing positive for 2 banned substances. Both are PEDs.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Wednesday. I'll tell you if the Super Bowl is the Ravens to lose. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Live from the Anajar and Levine studios, Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 690 and Action Sports Shacks presents Brent and Friends.
Today is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time.
We're getting a little punchy around here, people. It's been a lot in a row.
I would love to punch you guys.
Ow! Ow! It really hit me.
Brent and Friends with Brent Martineau, Aaron Schachter, and Kasey Kuhrts. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. ESPN 690.
I'm about to get in the weeds on the Lions and the Jags. So before we do that, we're just going to start every segment with a phone call. Let's get to South Beach Gary so I don't keep waiting too long. What's up, South Beach Gary?
Hey, guys, a couple of things. The new DC that the Jags hired, he comes from a defense that likes to play man. So are the Jags planning on changing both their corners in the offseason? And the other thing, where did the rumor that Trent Balky was going to retire this offseason? Did y'all hear about that? And where did that rumor start from?
Thanks, South Beach Gary. A couple of things. We said earlier in the show, I don't think they necessarily have to just, okay, go get the man corner because this guy can't play man. I think guys do it differently. I'm not saying you guys agreed. I mean, do they have to replace Tyson Campbell and Darius Williams because of this defensive scheme?
I'm not convinced they don't, but I think both guys can exist in a world where they could play for Ryan Nielsen on defense. Like, I find it hard to believe that the guy got the job by going in there and saying, we pretty much have to replace 8 guys on defense.
Kasey, what do you think?
Probably one of them.
Yeah, like they're not, see, in my view, they're not replacing Tyson Campbell, right?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Young star on a rookie contract, I would say highly unlikely.
So anyway, what we were talking about earlier, South Beach Gary, is like, I get that the numbers say and everything say, and maybe the strengths and weaknesses of your football team, you take a guy like Campbell, and he's better off in zone. Well, even in Nielsen's defense, if I saw the correct numbers, he still plays zone a third of the time, which means you're mostly in man. Okay, get it. Does that mean he can't play man? I don't think that's the case. I just don't. I think he can play man, and maybe he's got to do some more work in that part of his game. Maybe it's other people around him, what they can do as well, where they thrive as well. Maybe that's the part you have to change. So I just don't. I think we label these guys, and all of a sudden, like the book out on Tyson Campbell is he just can't cover a guy man-to-man. Now, has he had some issues finding the football at times? Yeah, but I also thought there was a good stretch of time where he got a lot better at that. Remember, Kasey, that was like the book on him? Remember he couldn't turn around? Well, then this year, he did have a little bit of a problem with that, say, against like Jamar Chase in the Cincinnati game. But he seemed to have a problem with everything this year.
Yeah, and hopefully the reason for that is because he wasn't fully healthy and not for other potential bad reasons.
Is there any other spot that people think they need to change? Like, can they play with the linebackers they have? Do they?
No, I think they can.
I
actually think that they'd be better off sending those linebackers into the backfield more often than they do.
I think they need, let me rephrase. I think they will have 3 different starters. One is Antonio Johnson, so either at safety or in Trey Herndon's spot.
Yep.
The position in which Antonio Johnson does not play. And then I think either a big guy, which I'm not convinced on because I think part of this hire was to get your big guys that you're already paying.
You're talking defensive interior?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good point. Don't just glaze over that point. That's a good point. Get your guys to play well that you already have that you're paying.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Or
especially the ones you just signed a contract.
The other outside corner.
Yeah, meaning Darius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a sense that they're going to be like, thank you for your service, Darius Williams and Rayshon Jenkins. You guys have been good. And by the way, those guys have both been good free agents overall. A lot of huge moments for those guys. Now, they've also been, especially Rayshon, you really look at the whole 3 years, he's been pretty inconsistent. I can't look past some of the huge plays that he made.
Yeah.
That made it fun around here.
Sure.
So I'm going to look at him as a positive
and
in a 3-year window.
Yeah.
And Darius Williams, really the last 2 years, I mean, at times I thought he saved the team.
He might have been the best player on defense outside of Josh Allen.
I mean, he really seemed like he saved them at like last year and at times early this year. And he was doing some great things. But I also think that's what good teams do when they say, okay, we acquired these guys. They gave us some really good moments, and we're paying them X, and it's time to move on and go get their replacements. So I think I agree with you, Casey. I think that's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. It is interesting what they view Antonio Johnson as. If they view him as a nickel, they're great there. I mean, that's the upgrade, right? I mean, you feel really good.
I mean, they
about
did
him
play him
nickel.
at corner a little bit towards the end of the year.
Well, but it's his position, safety / nickel, like which.
I thought he was brought in to be the hybrid.
He was. But if is he going to still play the hybrid? In Caldwell's set, they played 3 safeties a bunch. Like, so what do they need? What are the pieces he needs? And I do think you'll probably get somebody from Atlanta or that he's familiar with in New Orleans or something like that. That seems to happen in these kind of situations, whether that's a moderate level player. I think the big question is, to Casey's point, more so to me than the secondary even at this stage, can he get good interior play because you're invested there? You're invested in Hamilton. You're invested in Roy Robertson Harris. Fatukasi's going to be gone, I think. And can he get the linebacker in Devin Lloyd playing consistent and good? Because I believe, and don't know this, but from the outside looking in, I believe part of the reason Caldwell is not here is because of that player right there. My guess is when they were doing their evaluations and boards and everything else, I bet Mike Caldwell was all over Devin Lloyd as a player. And that helped shove him up the board, and that helped stamp home. This guy knows linebackers. He came from Tampa, all this stuff. And so they go grab him. I'm not telling you he made the pick. Balky's going to make the pick too. And then maybe even a Muma, or maybe that was just a value play in some respect that they thought, and maybe are wrong. Who knows? But the other thing about it is 2 years in, and I really like Devin Lloyd, and I think he shows signs of being a good player, but I don't know how good he is 2 years in. And he's played a lot of ball. That's a problem from a coaching standpoint. I think Caldwell probably took a big hit on that part of it.
You do wonder, not just about drafting a guy, but the lack of development with some of the guys on defense as well, where you draft them either relatively high or high in general, and you haven't seen them take the steps forward you were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, we have that in – I still think Cisco's a good player and took a step at times. He got hurt a little bit, but I think he's a much better player than he was like in year one. Much better. Year one, he didn't even play that much. I think he's a much better player than he was last year.
Yes.
At the early stage, I think he got a lot better at the second half of last year, and I think he's a guy that you can rely on and probably will do well.
I do think everyone was expecting more from Cisco last year, though.
I also think I think Tyson has had a lost year. I mean, I don't know how to grade Tyson. I think he had a lost year. He could never find it. He couldn't play hurt. And when he did play, it wasn't great. But I don't think he's a bad player all of a sudden. I really don't know on Lloyd. I want to buy into all the good stuff about Lloyd, but I just don't know. And I really think this is an organization that should be able to say at this point, this is potentially a knock on development, but potentially a knock on drafting, because I think one of the knocks on the drafting of Balky is the linebacker spot. You're going to put all that investment in a linebacker position. I mean, there are a lot of teams that just be like, yeah, we'll just redo that linebacker spot. But if you look at teams that win Super Bowls, linebacker is very important.
Yeah, very much the quarterback of the defense on a lot of
Look
these
at San
teams.
Francisco and Baltimore.
Yeah.
Look at the Bucks when they won. It wasn't just Brady. Their linebackers were awesome that year. Awesome. Look at, heck, I think if you go all the way back to like Seattle, and even when you went back to the Patriots back in the day, they had the Brewskis of the world. That linebacker spot, I think, gets overlooked until it's crunch time, and then when you need to win big, they come up big. I think the Kansas City linebackers have been underrated over the last few years. So was it wrong to invest in linebacker? $15 million on a Lewican with the big free agent deal, first-round pick trade up, Muma, Ventrell Miller. Well, maybe it wasn't wrong, but your evaluation is wrong if you have 3 draft picks over the last couple of years tied up in linebacker in the first 4 rounds, and you can't say, okay, Foye, we appreciate your work, thank you, move on, and now we can We have developed our linebackers to put them in that spot.
Do you think that was
that's where the
plan?
Jags should be right now? The Jags should be in a spot where they can say bye to Foye Oluokun, as much as I love him, and put Muma there or Ventrell Miller there with Devin Lloyd and be happy and be good. I don't think they are there.
Do you think that was the plan when they paid a lot of money to bring Foye in? Not that he hasn't earned that money, but I think at the time people wondered if it was overpay because no one wanted to come to the Jaguars. You end up paying the guy for 2 years. Do you think the plan originally was because they had already had someone on the team and were drafting behind him as well, that maybe they could move on from the contract? Now I don't think they feel like they can.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I think the plan is okay. Like, that plan is decent. Very decent. But now you either put your ass on the line and say we're doing it, or you missed.
You missed.
Because you overdrafted linebacker in those spots. You can't do anything about Ventrell Miller getting hurt. And to be honest with you, he would have been a special teams guy and probably not played much this year. But when you have 3 linebackers drafted in the last couple of years in primary spots in the draft, we're not talking about 6-round picks. It's time to play them and live with it. Or you missed.
Yeah.
But listen, Balky's other criticism is he missed on the offensive interior, the defensive interior in his calculations. He's based on play. He has invested too much on his defensive interior with the guys that they have. They have not got the return. And I think he just miscalculated probably on the offensive interior. But you're a guy that says you build from inside out. So again, I've defended Balky in some areas where everybody else is out of their minds, I think. Those are viable black marks against the GM.
Yeah, valid criticism.
Red marks
absolutely.
or whatever. You know what I mean? I think those are distinct criticisms that need to be asked. And I don't know if they're being asked, but I think they certainly should be asked. Let's get to Steven on the line, and eventually we'll get into this Lions and Jags things. I promise. We got 2 more hours. What's up, Steven?
Hey, not too much, guys. How you doing today?
What's up, man?
Hey, not too much. I just wanted to get on the Ryan Nielsen hire. I really like it. You see the videos on X or Twitter, however you want to refer to it. Guy's really intense, really into it on the sideline, where Caldwell, he just kind of looks zoned out every now and then and quiet. But my complaints there, I mean, Brent mentioned the linebackers. Caldwell, you played linebacker. You were a linebacker's coach. Why aren't these guys developed? That's your specialty. Nielsen comes in, high pedigree with the D-line. I mean, Casey and Aaron mentioned it yesterday. Cam Jordan, Trey Hendrickson vouched for this guy. And you saw the production that he's gotten from the D-line. Maybe bring back the mayor of Jacksonville. Who knows? But, I mean, Foley, I expect him to be gone. Maybe you push Trayvon down there to 3-tech, and then maybe you either draft or sign another edge rusher, which is kind of awkward because you have to sign Allen to a long-term deal. But somewhere in that direction, and, you know, we're going to hopefully get a lot out of this new scheme and see some more blitzing because he is aggressive in that standard. So I'm really excited for this coming year to see this with the players we got and maybe some new additions.
Thanks, Steven. Appreciate it. Listen, I like the juice this guy brings too. I think he'll elevate this team. I think they'll be on high alert this year on the defensive end. I don't know what moves they're going to make. I don't know who they add, but I think there'll be reason to get excited about their defense, and mostly because I think Josh Allen's going to be back in some respect, and hopefully on a big deal, but some way, shape, or form. And Trayvon Walker, his arrow's up right now. I mean, it's definitely up. It has to be.
Yes, sir.
Took a huge step. So we'll see how he's used and all those things. And I know that's been a discussion, hand in the dirt, all this other stuff. So
you curious some of the free agents Atlanta has come and do this offseason on the defense?
Yeah, who do they have?
They have Jeff Okudah at corner.
Okudah's a guy that would be interesting.
Yeah, Calais, obviously.
I still think Calais is going to retire, and I didn't pester him with that yesterday when I talked to him, but I think he's going to retire. But maybe he does. I mean, he had 6.5 sacks. Maybe he comes back for one more.
But Dupree, name you've mentioned previously, unrestricted free agent.
By the way, was tied with Calais, 6.5 sacks.
Yeah, and he's an interesting, probably rotational player, right? On this defense. Yeah, what you need.
I don't see any other bigger names. Contavious Street, Trey Flowers.
When you get a chance, can you pull the Okudah PFF numbers? Because I don't know what it looked like. I'm not even going to pretend. I wasn't watching the Falcons.
Interesting name, though.
Yeah, he was like the third pick, right? So, but Detroit gave up on him.
Yeah,
Don't get me
Kuda
wrong.
was a big whiff by the
It
Lions.
was, yeah, it was not good. So I don't know if there was a bit of a resurrection there, but talking about that you might potentially, at the bare minimum, I think you do need depth at corner because you kind of saw what happened, and he's a veteran. So if PFF says he's terrible, then, that's one thing. But I'm at least slightly intrigued about what that maybe could look, because it's not going to cost you much. I don't believe.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, too. And if he did get the best play out of Okudah, then, that says a lot about him, too. And he's had some good corners, or at least talented guys. Okudah's a talented player. He's also got A.J. Terrell. He's had Lattimore in New Orleans.
Good, yeah.
The defensive line guys like Cam Jordan. He's got some players now, but he's got some players here in Jacksonville. I don't think this place is void of players.
Unfortunately, Case, if you're looking for good news on Jeff Okudah, you're not really going to find it here. Not only did he have a rough season based on what PFF says,
not good,
with a coverage grade of 46 for the season, but his lone good game, Casey, lone good, go ahead and moan it up.
Please tell me he actually played in this game.
His lone good game came in week 4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. 72.4 on the grade there.
Well, speaking of, Okudah was drafted by the Lions. Same year C.J. Henderson was drafted by the Jags.
2020.
Both missed.
Yep.
Not good.
If you take...
Who's a free agent, I think, by the way.
What do you guys think right now is the biggest difference between the Jaguars and the Lions?
The record, the fact that one's playing in the playoffs.
Their young players are contributing to the highest of levels.
So you take it like that draft class has been awesome.
And they got grown men.
All right, timeout, because you got a high draft pick in Jack Campbell, who's not necessarily
people will be like,
the way
he leads
you'd
in
like to
tackles,
see.
so he's a linebacker.
Jameer Gibbs obviously is. That was a high draft pick.
Hold on. Pause. The Jags drafted a linebacker in the first round as well, and we're not talking about him.
We're talking about a top 15 pick, though.
What was Devin Lloyd?
Listen, it's a fair
31,
Campbell's played
30.
Fine for them. He's probably the least of the 4 guys we're going to talk about in that draft.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying he's a top 15 pick. So you expect, especially someone who was graded out as a 4th rounder, if the Lions saw something, you would expect it to pop off the page. And all I'm saying is it hasn't.
Yeah, he ain't hurting him, though.
You're getting it from Hutchinson. Yes, you're getting it from Gibbs. You're not getting it from Jamison Williams. And you're not getting it from Jack Campbell. So I don't think it goes all the way around. But to your point, they are getting some good production from young guys. Certainly that offensive line is stalwart. That is a huge difference in the two teams.
Well, that would be where I would go with the big difference, too. There's a lot of places to go here. So I'll ask you this, what I said the other day. Do you think it's crazy to what I put the other day, and I should have been a little bit more I put center left guard, I think is the massive difference between the Jaguars and the Lions. If you go by their roster. Now, some of that comes with semantics. Listen, Penei Sewell's a lot better than Anton Harrison.
Bro's goated.
But my point there was I think the Jags are comfortable going forward with, like, Harrison, right? They've got a guy. They got a right tackle. Like, they really don't know if they have a center or left guard. But I think if you just take the offensive line, there's a huge difference there.
One of the best centers in the league plays for the Lions.
Absolutely. And you guys just hit on a bunch of stuff. If you look at the big difference in Casey just brought up the 2023 draft. If you look at the 21 draft comparison to the Lions and Jags had some great wins. 22, everybody talks Hutchinson and Walker, but the Jags did okay in that spot too. They feel like they got a good player. Now, we can go back and forth on which one's better, all that stuff, but then I would just shove back at you, which tandem do you want? Pascal and Hutchinson or Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker? So it's part of the puzzle pieces. So I think we can have a conversation about that. What we can't have a conversation about from a roster standpoint is their offensive line. The offensive line difference is amazingly different. This year's draft, you're right, is totally different. And I think you said something else kind of in passing, Casey, is they've got, like, grown men. And I think that's a massive difference between the Lions and the Jaguars. I did this on their offensive line. They have an 8-year guy, 6-year guy, 4-year guy, 8-year guy, 3-year guy. The Jags have a rookie, 2-year guy, 8-year guy, I think 6-year guy, and depends whatever the hell left guard they put in there, where he is. I think if you look at quarterback, Goff's 29 years old. Trevor's 24. Ask Goff how good of a player he is compared to 5 years ago. And I think we're seeing it. Like, that is a big difference.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so that's where I see offensive line talent, but I also see offensive line veteran nature. Ragnow to be able to play through what he played through the other day because he's just an animal. I mean, and he knows that comes with age. That comes with the little gray in the beard. It does. I think it does. I think we're seeing, the difference there in those two positions, just age-wise, and maybe some talent. I don't think quarterback. I think Trevor's plenty talented, if not more talented than Goff. But age is a big thing. I mean, there's still a learning curve here, especially if you don't have those guys up front. So I'd ask the simple question. If you swapped offensive lines, where are the two teams?
I think they're reversed. I think it's a simple exercise, Case.
I'm not with you.
You're sitting there looking at Jahmyr Gibbs and Travis Etienne. Maybe you like one better than the other, but they're in the same ballpark, right?
I don't disagree.
Okay. You're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown as a premier slot receiver, and maybe Christian Kirk might not be on the level of Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Christian Kirk plays at the level of a premier slot receiver when we need him.
I think Christian Kirk, by the way, I think he is maybe not, you can pick St. Brown, but I think he is to the Jags what St. Brown is to the Lions.
Agreed. But it's not the wide chasm.
I'd take Kirk all day. You can have Brown. I'll take Kirk, okay?
So Jameson Williams,
you can have
on the outside, playing the Calvin Ridley role.
I didn't even say anything.
No, I know other people.
You both started teaming up on me. I didn't even say a word.
Well, this is what we're talking about the comparison. Jameson Williams on the outside versus Calvin Ridley. You take Ridley this far, even with what you saw this year.
Williams played 8 games in 2 years or something?
And he hasn't played well in them. Then on the other side, you got Josh Reynolds or Zay Jones. I mean, we like what we saw in Zay when he's healthy, right? Evan Ingram or Sam Laporta. Laporta had a great season, one of the greatest rookie seasons for a tight end we've ever seen. But we went through the numbers yesterday, 80-something catches, 800-something yards. It still pales in comparison to what we saw from Ingram.
I think they use him differently. I think they extend.
Bro scored 10 touchdowns. Nothing pales.
Okay, so he's the red zone target, and just because Ingram wasn't necessarily the red zone target for Jacksonville, I'm looking at Ingram going, I trust him to catch a ball when I need it more than I trust Laporta.
Okay.
Well, I don't even know if I'd go that. Listen, you can give the edge to. This is what I was saying in this stuff. You can pick your guy. I'll go to the schoolyard with you and play, and I'll take Ingram. Yes, I think Laporta makes them more dynamic. He does. They're more dynamic. That's why they got 10 touchdowns, go down the middle of the field. He's got great hands too, man. I mean, he's a really good player. But I'll take our guy. That's the point. You can have that guy. I'll take our guy. I'll take Kirk. You can take St. Brown. That's fine. You can have Goff. I'll take Trevor. I'm telling you, I'll go to battle with him, but you give me your offensive line, and you got to take our offensive line. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I do think that's the main difference. You look at what Detroit does in a game, there are holes in the line that open up like the parting of the Red Sea for anybody with the football. It doesn't matter which back has it.
It's deeper than that. The Jags couldn't even call a 3rd and 1 because of their offensive line. You took a chunk out of the playbook because you couldn't do it. Meanwhile, Detroit's confident in running the football so much, they employ 2 guys. And people are wondering why Jahmyr Gibbs isn't even on the field more at times.
Montgomery runs. No one can stop this guy when Montgomery's out there.
How good's the offensive line, or either that, how good are they at evaluating running back talent, Casey? They got rid of Jamal Williams, who scored 17 touchdowns. They got rid of DeAndre Swift, who had a career year in Philly, and they replaced him with these 2 guys.
It worked.
I mean, that's either hell of a scouting or hell of an offensive line.
Probably a little of both.
A little bit of both, right? And so tip your cap to him. To be able to replace those 2 guys and do that, man, that's a hell of a job. Hell of a job. But I do think the offensive line the confidence in the offensive line plays into that, and also gives you mentality and everything else, and then gives you the idea of being able to have shot plays and play action and all this stuff. There's a lot more to it, is my point. I'll give you one other thing that I just wrestled with, and you don't have to agree with me here. Go back to week 12, or it would have been week 13, early December. I don't know what I should have looked this up. I don't know what the Lions' record was, but they're probably close to 8-3. The Jags were 8-3. So I'm going to ask you, Lions fans, or people who think the Lions are so much better than the Jags, For the last 6 weeks of the season, you have to play without St. Brown, and you have to play with your quarterback hurt 3 different times over the last 6 games in golf. And by the way, that's even with your offensive line. And I don't think you would collapse, by the way the Jags did. I don't. But I also don't think you'd be playing at home in week 2 of the postseason, which is a huge difference for the Lions playing at home. So,
by the way, the Lions were 8-3 at the same time.
So they were. So they were in the exact same spot. And that's what I mean by the roster construction. I'm like, or the coaching or the this. Listen, they were in the same spot. They got beat up, and they have a deficiency that the Lions don't have.
I mean, we're talking
That's the
a lot,
offensive line.
We're talking a lot about players and the guys standing on the field, but you've also got a play caller on the Lions who's a coordinator wanted as a head coach for no less than 8 teams.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy on the Jaguars who the fan base wants to throw in the street.
I know, and I don't know if I don't think the gap is as wide there as people want to portray it. And I know you're not going to like to hear that from me, but I also don't think Press Taylor should be getting offensive interviews. I think Ben Johnson's done a hell of a job. Hell of a job. And I'm going to tell you why I think he and Campbell and others have done a hell of a job. And then I'm going to create a role for a former Jag in Jacksonville that I think is a bigger deal, and they have it in Detroit, than people would even mention. It's next on ESPN 690.
Now, the First Alert forecast on ESPN 690.
I'm Action News Jack's First Alert meteorologist Trevor Gibbs. Warmer today, high temperatures rising to near 73 degrees with mostly cloudy skies, still a few peaks of sunshine, and also tracking the potential for a brief shower or two, but it's not going to amount to much rain. We'll be warmer tonight, low temperatures near 59, and then back into the upper 70s for tomorrow. From the Action News Jack's First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Trevor Gibbs.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beard's Diamonds, proud to offer a huge selection of both lab-grown and natural diamonds at the lowest prices guaranteed.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. This month, you can get 50% off a Connecticut K5 drinking water system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Series softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 143-2579.
Hard Rock Bet presents Legal in Florida.
You can bet the game on Hard Rock Bet. No more betting inside your head. Now Hard Rock Bet is legal in Florida. Now Hard Rock Bet is legal in Florida. Legal in Florida. It's safe, it's legal. We'll repeat that it is legal. Top rated sportsbook and it's the only one that's legal.
Get a no-regret first bet up to $100 when you sign up now. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 and over and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Rich Jones here. Investing can be more about just filling a bank account. It's about having a secure retirement, protecting your family. Let DLP Capital help you to protect your why. Here's CEO and founder Don Wenner.
I started DLP Capital with an expectation that I could provide my family, my investors, my team members, and the families of my investors with awesome returns, limited volatility, and no losses, all while providing desperately needed affordable housing to the American workforce.
To get your investor's guide and learn more, dial *invest on your cell phone or visit highyieldreturns.net.
We're dealing at Best Bet St. Augustine, the only card room and sports bar in St. Augustine, Florida. With nonstop action, poker games of all limits, exciting tournaments and table games, and a sports bar showing all the action, Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. Don't miss our delicious dining options, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our always popular freshly made sushi. Best Bet St. Augustine is located at 800 Marketplace Drive off exit 311, where I-95 and State Road 207 meet. Learn more at bestbetjacks.com.
You probably have a list of New Year's resolutions for 2024. Well, right now you can make that decision to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain for the rest of the year. Put that on the resolution list. Don't go another year compromising because because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics right now. Get a free consultation, 904-274-5522, because QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, and QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatments has arrived, and QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, any pain associated with arthritis or even injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again, get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So give them a call right now, QC Kinetics, and get a free consultation, 904-274-5522, 904-274-5522.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-Do.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
This is Brent and Friends with Brent Martineau,
You don't even like your quarterback.
Kasey Kuhrts,
You don't even like your team.
and Aaron Schachter
I don't even like myself, guys. Do you know me?
on Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio, ESPN 690.
You mind if I hold you accountable here for a sec, real quick?
I would love for you to do that.
We got a text from James. Appreciate you, James, for adding your name to the text. Obviously, you listen. Thank you. James says 2 years ago, Brent said on air that he would eat his hat if Trent Balky was still general manager after the weekend. James says he's still waiting for you to eat your hat from 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's never happening.
You're not going to eat your hat, Brent?
Did I say that? I thought I was getting vilified for defending Trent Balky.
Yeah, didn't Delphonic make a whole Photoshop of you?
He did.
That we found out later wasn't a Photoshop?
I'm not saying it didn't happen.
Security camera photo.
I just don't remember it.
I don't
Case, you're not helping,
remember
man.
that. Like, and by the way, I might have said it because I still didn't believe.
Take a bite out of your hat.
I think what I said, and you might be right here, this would have been during the coaching process, especially early on, where I was like, I don't think he's going to survive it, right? I think they're going to make a move. So you're probably right. Now, on the back end of that, I think I got hammered for somewhat even defending the move, which I don't even know if I defended. I think Delphonic just painted it that way. I just wasn't wearing a clown outfit like some others.
You hear that, James?
So maybe I should be eating a hat.
Full-throated denial and a lot of excuses.
Maybe I should be. I'm just talking my way through it here.
Apparently, Brent has paid Kasey off as well. We heard about the Venmo transaction last week. Now, suddenly, Kasey wants to defend Brent. So, James, I'm with you, and the boys are not.
Brent Martineau, Aaron Schachter, Kasey Kuhrts.
Accountability, Brent.
We're doing the Lions and Jags deep dive. I've really been on this for the last couple of days, and it's interesting to me because if you think about the Lions, you think about what?
I think about offense. I think about speed and offense.
Really? Kasey?
Kneecaps.
Yes.
Kasey get the right answer? I feel
Yeah.
like you guys are trading messages or something. I want to recount.
I don't think it's like – so what people think of is culture when they think of that, right? I think that's what – Dan Campbell's done a tremendous job of setting culture. And I was reminded of this yesterday when I was talking to somebody about it, that they had to overcome the Patricia era, which was not good.
Yeah.
So they had a mess to clean up too.
That's true. Didn't they also – or no, that was the Colts. Never mind. I was going to say, didn't they hire Josh McDaniels before he quit, before he even got there? But that was a different team.
Yeah, that was Indy, right? So he had to clean stuff up. He set a culture. But what I think he set by the kneecap thing, by the grit stuff, by the toughness of the football team, by the try-hard nature of them, is more identity. And I think there's a difference because, first of all, if you want to compare Campbell and Peterson, Campbell's had an extra year to build that. Doug had to also replace a mess from a culture standpoint. But do you look at the Jags and say their culture is bad?
No, I didn't. I actually think their culture is pretty good.
I do too. So, but I do think it's identity. Because, as we've said multiple times, I think the Jags' identity is Doug and Trevor and offense. I don't know if the results tell us that. I don't know the identity of the defense, although they just hired a guy where I'm excited about the fact that I think I know his identity of a stylistic Ryan Nielsen team, whether he's in New Orleans, Atlanta, hopefully here in Jacksonville. So he can help give an identity. I think the Jags lack identity. And some of that is inconsistency. They haven't done the same thing. They got off to a bad start under Doug, then they rallied. They got off to a good start, and then they failed. The Lions have been slowly building this culture that people would call it, but it's really an identity. It's an identity of when you come play us, even if we're not good, we're going to scratch your eyeballs out to try to win this game. We're going to be aggressive. Now, I will say this. I think that's a Doug identity, too. Doug has proven that he's going to stay aggressive.
As a play caller.
Yes. So
Campbell seems like he eats and breathes aggressiveness.
Well, he does. And part of that's his gruffness and everything else, right? And he's done a great job with that. Like, I thought it was kind of be short-lived, to be honest. That's another thing maybe I could eat my hat on. But I didn't think it could maintain. It really has. I mean, it's really maintained. They've done a hell of a job coaching that football team. They've gotten a lot out of that football team. That says a lot to me about the coach and really the identity again, but even the culture. I think the Jags also at times have gotten a lot out of this football team. They didn't in the last 6 weeks, but I think they did for a long time, especially if everybody out there thinks Balky's so bad and the roster's so bad. The coaching staff got a hell of a lot out of them to be 8-3 and make the playoffs last year. But I do think, like, you know what you're getting when you go play Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. I don't think we exactly know what we're getting when the Jags show up on Sunday. And I think they have to identify that. I think they have to find an identity sooner than later so we can, like Kansas City. I'll give you one. This is interesting to me. And this is why everybody thinks, like, Dan Campbell, we got everywhere Sunday night. The Jags got to get tough. The Jags need grit. The Jags. Do you say that about Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes? No. Nobody says that about them. You didn't say it about the Buffalo Bills even. Like, you don't have to do that to win, is my point. Now, it's not a bad trait. The Ravens are tough, physical, but it's not the only thing. I think they have a bunch of things, but they are tough and physical.
Yeah, you don't think of Miami
The
as
Eagles,
that team.
when they were good, were that. San Francisco, do you look at them as they play tough, but I don't think that's their identity.
I think of them as physical, yes.
I think of them as explosive and stars all over the place.
I think of them as stars all over the place, but even their stars are like Debo is physical.
Yeah, they're physical.
Kittle's is physical. But to your point, like Miami doesn't have to be physical to win.
Listen, this goes back to, like, I have this tough thing written down because if we came out of the year, we said the Jags need to be more physical. There's no doubt about it. They have a weakness in physicality, and that's because of their interior on the offensive line and defensive line, and it starts right there. That's where their weakness is. But it doesn't necessarily have to be their identity, is my point, to win. Everybody's tough in the NFL. But you have to find an identity. Like, I can make the case that Kansas City's identity is still Mahomes and Reed, but the reason they're in the championship game is because of their defense, Casey.
Yeah, big facts. I'm with that.
Right?
Defense gave up 24 against the Bills.
Didn't matter. They turned it on in the fourth quarter. They need to get stops. They got stops. The Bills were running up and down until the fourth quarter, and they got stops. They figured it out. Now, listen, their offense was very efficient and very good, too. You expect that. But this has not been the high-flying, keep up with us Chiefs. This has been a defense that has yet to give up 30 and has held a bunch of people, I think, under 20 points this year. But nobody says that about them. That's just the way they've been. They're kind of morphing a little bit into more of a balanced team over these last 6 AFC championship games. But I think identity is so important. I don't know how the Jags get that. I think the Lions have an identity. I don't think their defense is unbelievable. I think it's a try-hard defense that's going to bring it, and you better be ready for it.
Don't you think it allows a team to establish an identity when they can string wins together, because then you don't have to constantly adapt and change what you're doing? It's almost to me a chicken and an egg argument.
Yeah.
It's like, do you not have an identity because you're not consistent, or are you not consistent because you don't have an identity? Might be asking the same thing.
You might be asking the same thing. And that's a really good call if you investigate where the Jags were this year. The Jags were 8-3, guys. And we still really didn't know.
No.
They were turning the ball over.
No, we thought they were underperforming.
They were kind of, they were that offensive identity, yet at times they had
flashes.
What did they have, like a 31-point, then 34-point, 24-point stretch? Heck, they scored 31 against Cincinnati when they lost it. They scored like 120 points in a 4-game stretch. Like, they were on their way to being, then they got banged up. I mean, honestly, they got banged up.
Yeah.
And that's not the only problem. I'm just saying they did. They had scored.
The clock ran out.
30, 20, 30, 20, 30, and then Trevor started his injury streak is kind of what happened to them really down at that point. So, yeah, I think identity really stands out to me here when I look at the Lions, because I know who they are. I just don't know if we know who the Jags are yet 2 years in. And I don't know whose fault that is. I also don't know how you get it. Like, is there something Doug preaches week in, week out at news conferences?
Yes.
That you kind of lean into, that you're like, okay, that's who they are?
I don't know if you can name it as an identity, but if you're looking for common themes you hear throughout the season, Doug is big on communication. I'm sure they all are, but we certainly hear it every week. And they're big on keeping their head about them. You know, that even-keeled nature, not getting up too high or too low, focusing on the task at hand so everyone can do their job. So I don't know that even-keeled is an identity or one that you even want your football team to have, but it's one I think of when I think Jaguars.
You know, somebody brought this up. Do the Jags have enough edgy players, really?
Do you need them?
Well, I think you do. It's a nasty game. Casey, outside of Cam Robinson, give me an edgy player for the Jags.
Rayshawn Jenkins.
That's funny. That's the guy I went to too. But and I don't know if everybody goes there, but I kind of feel that way too. You know where I go like third?
Brandon Sheriff.
I put him in a different category, a grizzled vet guy.
Still wouldn't want to pick a fight though.
Nah, I get you. You know who I think actually is in this category for them is Dewey.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, I do. I think he's in that category. But they don't have a lot of them. And by the way, when you don't need a lot of them. But, you know, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, big time.
Like, he doesn't stop.
Bro's the worst.
He is the worst.
But he's good.
He's pretty
Bro's
good, though.
pretty good.
You want him on your team and you can't stand him.
Do you want him on your team?
Well, they do.
I'll take him.
They didn't in Philly.
No, he'll wear out his welcome eventually. But if you can get the most out of him while you're there.
I'd take one solid year of it. If it turned out he was the safety next year, or if he was the slot corner, I'm in.
Because we've all seen guys like this throughout all of our lives, right? Like, I think Cortland Finnegan, when I think of a guy who's a problem for other teams, but not necessarily his own team.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, but was Arden Key this for the Jags last year?
Was he that problem for other guys?
I don't get that vibe.
Felt like it could be. Here's why I look at it. You got to go in the fight, in the tunnel. Who do you want with you?
Cam?
I'll take Arden Key with me, too, because I think he got a little crazy in him.
I'd take Arden Key.
I want Trayvon because he's got a 17-foot wingspan.
Well, that might help, too.
He's swinging on people from midfield. He's still connected.
But, like, there's something to that. Who you picking on the Lions? You're picking Ragnow, right? You're picking
Gardner Johnson.
You're picking Gardner Johnson. Probably picking Hutch. You're probably, like,
I'm picking Hutch.
For a fight? He looks like a sweet kid.
No, I'm picking Hutch, 100%.
You know, like that. You don't need a whole cast of them. That can be problematic, but maybe you do need a few of them. And do the Jags have enough of those edgy guys? Like, here's the thing. They built a locker room that could withstand the failures of last year and turn it around and go on a playoff run. An edgy locker room couldn't handle that. They'd be gone. Like, that's a hard deal.
Joe in the chat says, you want to be edgy, go back to 2017.
Exactly.
That roster filled with edgy guys.
But it's hard to keep up. There's too much edge there.
I'd take
at
all
the
the
end of
boys
day.
in a fight. Holy cow.
Glenn says edgy Antonio Johnson might be able to be this.
Yeah, I don't know him enough yet. I mean, maybe Bigsby turns into, like, listen, I'm not also telling you they have a bunch of choir boys in here. They have good football players, but they have even keel football. Some of their best players are very even keel, which is good most of the time until you need a helmet thrown and an ejection in Cam Robinson, and it fires everybody up. Like, that, you need that guy. He's the only guy on the team doing that. He's the only guy. And so I think that doesn't have to be your identity, but I think you kind of need that anyway because of the game of football, the sport of football. They might need a couple more of those. Give me a guy with a little edge, man.
One dude from 17, you're going into a fight. Who are you taking?
Probably Jan.
I thought that. That's the easy answer.
You got some. You don't know what Jan you're going to get.
I know. That's the easy answer. I'm thinking Marcel Darius.
Oh, Darius, a great one.
Yeah.
Nice guy with an edge. You know, was a guy I always was amazed at. Super good dude. When he crossed that line, you saw it sometimes. Malik Jackson.
Yeah, I thought about Malik.
Like, he could lose it. He did. In the Chargers game like that year. Got ejected, I think, out of it. Listen, I'll give you this. Kelsey's that way for Kansas City.
Totally.
He's got like 4 career ejections or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, he was, but now he's flashing hearts mid-touchdown. I'm like, bro.
Stop it. He fought a guy on his own team this year.
Let's get off the field before we're flashing hearts, huh?
He loves her.
It's a tough game. I just think you need some of it. I don't know if the Jags have a lot of it, but the overriding thing for me, if you offensive line from a roster standpoint, boom, give me their offensive line. I think the Jags don't fail down the stretch like they did. And I think identity has to be found around here. You know what it is in Detroit. We have got to find an identity in Jacksonville. When Coughlin was here, you knew their identity. It said grit on the wall. That was going to be it. We'll be back on ESPN 690.
Brent and Friends is sponsored by Best Bet, now open in St. Augustine.
Here we grow again. Terry Norvell here from the Young and Norvell Show, announcing our new expanded hours as we are now on weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's right. You now have a standing lunch date with me and my broadcast partner, former Gators basketball star and current SEC network analyst Patrick Young, every weekday for 2 solid hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690. You supply the lunch. We provide the most compelling sports talk in town. Find out for yourself weekdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Catch the Young and Norvell Show on ESPN 690.
Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. August 29th, Daly's Place. With special guests, Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. A great night of incredible rock.
Perfect Rack Billiards has a deal for you. 50-cent wing Fridays during lunch. Get out of work early. Get a head start on the weekend, or just take a lunch break, 11:30 until 3 p.m. on Fridays, every Friday. Perfect Rack Billiards with 50-cent wings for lunch on Fridays. A perfect place to stop in Murray Hill, play some pool, play some darts, maybe some shuffleboard. Now, that's a heck of a lunch break. And get those 50-cent wings on Friday just to make it better. 11:30 to 3 p.m. on Fridays at Perfect Rack Billiards.
We're dealing at Best Bet St. Augustine, the only card room and sports bar in St. Augustine, Florida. With nonstop action, poker games of all limits, exciting tournaments and table games, and a sports bar showing all the action, Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. Don't miss our delicious dining options, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our always popular freshly made sushi. Best Bet St. Augustine is located at 800 Marketplace Drive off exit 311, where I-95 and State Road 207 meet. Learn more at bestbetjacks.com.
No payments for 90 days and just $500 down can get you behind the wheel of a brand new Toyota. And with the help of Arlington's pre-approval program, that new Toyota will be sitting in your drive sooner than you think. Plus, every new Toyota comes with the peace of mind of Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, and online at arlingtontoyota.com today. Terms and conditions apply. Visit arlingtontoyota.com/new offers for details. details.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. This month, you can get 50% off a Connecticut K5 drinking water system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Series softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Meet Mike Lester.
Talent is not going to be the right choice for every single person out there, right? Because everybody is different. We do well when our clients do well. We're literally sitting on the same side of the table with them. We're in this together.
Yeah.
When you do well, I'll do well. Once we have that understanding, then we can come up with a plan that's designed to help you be successful in retirement.
Find out more at guardingyournestegg.com.
Advisory services through Talon Private Wealth and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Florida license D056341.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. For right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. Or call 800-803-5505 to speak to an expert. That's 800-803-5505.
Hey, it's Brent Martineau from Action Sports Jacks. Did you know you can watch our radio show? Yeah, video of a radio show. Just search ESPN 690 Jacks on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or follow me on Twitter at Brent A.S. Jacks. Watch the show live weekdays from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. or listen on ESPN 690. Hey, this just in, the NFL is big.
Okay.
50 million tuned in for that Chiefs-Bills game.
A divisional round playoff game had 50 million people watching it.
That's it.
So not only was it the most watched divisional playoff game in NFL history, it was the first one to top 50 million. The viewing number also topped the average viewership for every NFC championship game played over the past 5 years. It peaked at 56.25 million. Obviously, you had the big matchup. You got Taylor Swift. I mean, the numbers are just out of this world. Just for example, though, the Packers-49ers game, which was very good, average viewership of 37.5 million.
Really?
And that was on Fox. That number, this says, makes the game the most watched Saturday telecast on any network since the Winter Olympics in 1994.
On any network. It also goes to show you we need more sports on Saturday.
Yes, it does.
That's
I mean, NFL keeps messing around with Thursday. Give us some Saturday.
Yeah, whatever happened to that Wide World of Sports used to be on
Put
Saturday.
college football on Thursday.
They do.
But it's nuts.
Maction.
It's nuts.
It's crazy. What's crazier to me wasn't even the Packers-Niners, because you have the Niners there. It's a big market. It's a really good team.
Packers are a brand.
Lions-Bucks with 40.4 million people.
Wow. Now, that's the bigger story. Lions, I get it, Detroit. Bro, nobody outside of Tampa cares about the Bucks.
Nobody cares about the Lions either.
But they're a brand. You want to see them do well.
And they're also watchable, so fine. But 40.4 million people?
Yeah, that's bigger to me. That 40.4 million people were like,
yeah, I think
Bucks, Lions, all right.
I think the Lions obviously are the Cinderella story in a way, right? So like the darling. So they've got a lot of fans right now. But I think the Bucks, I wonder, Casey, did Brady turn a lot of people into Bucks fans when he won?
Well, they would be disappointed when they tuned in and saw Baker instead.
I would say I think they're gone, to be real with you. Like, I don't feel like
know,
that's.
I'm just curious.
I'd be surprised. I guess, it's hard to answer that question in Florida, but like, I can't imagine the New England fans that turned into somewhat Bucks fans are still riding with Baker.
I think what it says is Sunday was booked for football.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, that's in a primetime window. It's not a 1 o'clock game. It's 3 o'clock. People are like, I ain't going anywhere. I got football for the next 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
And I got a lot of bets to be made.
Who are you telling?
The bottom line is, like, you can't get over the betting side of this. Just continues to pile up the numbers.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody tell Rasheed Rice. 3 yards, bruh. You missed this.
No, you see the other one.
And
James Cook.
No, the other one, was it Cook?
Oh, James
Yeah,
Cook's
he
the one
went
that went
backwards,
backwards.
right? To 60.
He had the number.
That was crazy.
And he lost it.
Hey, football at 5. I think the Jags need to add somebody to the organization right now. And you know the name when we come back on ESPN 690.
If you're the victim of a car crash, never rush to settle with the insurance companies and never settle for just any attorney. Demand Anna Jar and Levine. Call 1-800-747-FREE for a free consultation and take back control of your life.
Main office, Jacksonville.
Start the year with a new or used vehicle at Nimnick Buick GMC. New year, new truck. There are trucks, and then there's the truck, the GMC Sierra. I love mine, and you can save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierra 1500s and enjoy rates as low as 0.9% APR financing. Try a Terrain or Acadia with rates as low as 1.9% APR for well-qualified buyers. Used car? Well, try the Car Bravo program. Nimnick certifies all makes and models. NimnickBuickGMC.com or the showroom off Phillips Highway. GMC. We are professional grade.
This year, I resolved to have a whole new view in life.
Nice. So what are we talking? New attitude? Maybe new glasses?
Nope. New windows and doors from American Window Products.
New view. I see what you did there.
They're Jacksonville's oldest family-owned replacement window and door company. Great prices, selection, professional installation. They look great, too. And you can save $250 off any entry door and free installation on 6 or more windows in January when you call 731-2247 or visit AmericanWindowProducts.com.
Thanks. I'll give them a look.
Perfect Rack Billiards has a deal for you. 50-cent Wing Fridays during lunch. Get out of work early. Get a head start on the weekend, or just take a lunch break, 11:30 until 3 p.m. on Fridays. Every Friday, Perfect Rack Billiards with 50-cent wings for lunch on Fridays. A perfect place to stop in Murray Hill, play some pool, play some darts, maybe some shuffleboard. Now, that's a heck of a lunch break. And get those 50-cent wings on Friday just to make it better. 11:30 to 3 p.m. on Fridays at Perfect Rack Billiards.
Rich Jones here. If you're an investor who's interested in doing well while doing good, getting solid returns on your investments while making a positive impact, consider investment funds with DLP Capital. Here's Don Winter, CEO of DLP Real Estate Capital, to tell you more.
With the current housing shortage in the U.S., investing in real estate, especially workforce housing, is one of the safest and most reliable places to invest. We invest in affordable housing for hardworking people and generate amazing returns for each of our investors.
To get your investor's guide and find out more, dial ** invest from your cell phone or visit highyieldreturns.net.
Are you curious about QC Kinetics? Let me tell you what we do.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, a medical director at QC Kinetics.
We treat people who have joint pain, and we use your body's healing properties, the things that you already have in you, in your blood, to heal your knee pain, your joint pain, your shoulder pain, your back pain. You have everything that you need in you already.
The same natural process that heals a cut on your finger also works inside your body.
And so what we do at QC Kinetics is take those healing properties, concentrate them down from your body, and put them where they need to go. We are the experts in regenerative medicine. That's all we do.
And best of all, there's no surgery, no downtime, or harmful drugs.
This is the future of medicine.
And your consultation is completely free. Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Bucks have fired coach Adrian Griffin. They're 30-13, second in the East, his first season in Milwaukee, but have been plagued by defensive issues. With the Bucks on a tight timetable, they had to make this move now, says ESPN NBA senior writer Zach Lowe.
This team's got to win right now, and they're winning, but you know it when you see it. They've been winning, but not in the manner that suggests they can win 3 playoff series to get out of the East, when 2 of them are going to have to come against probably Philly, and Boston. So whoever gets this job, there's a great team in here somewhere, and they've got to find it immediately.
Milwaukee's planning to quickly pursue a small pool of accomplished and available head coaches. Doc Rivers, a top target, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj also reports the Hornets are trading Terry Rozier to the Heat for Kyle Lowry and a projected 2027 first-round pick. Miami getting a gifted score guard with Rozier. NBA suspended Cavaliers center Tristan Thompson 25 games after testing positive for 2 banned substances. NFL, the Raiders working to hire former Chargers GM Tom Telesco as their new general manager.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Wednesday. I'll tell you if the Super Bowl is the Ravens to lose. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, your chance to win $1,000 as ESPN 690 wants to pay your bills. Sponsored by the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, JOI, where the pros go.
Enter the word Bucks. That's BUCKS at ESPN690.com by 15 past the hour.
Your next chance to win $1,000 and have ESPN 690 pay your bills happens tomorrow morning at 8. This is a nationwide contest. Message and data rates apply.
Live from the Anajar and Levine studios, Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
ESPN 690 and Action Sports Shacks presents Brent and Friends.
Today is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time.
We're getting a little punchy around here, people. It's been a lot in a row.
I would love to punch you guys.
Ow! It really hit me. Brent and Friends with Brent Martineau, Aaron Schachter, and Kasey Kuhrts. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. ESPN 690.
Thanks for hanging with us on a Tuesday. Hope everybody's doing well as we enter the latter part of January 2024. Brent Martineau along with Aaron Schachter, Kasey Kuhrts, Brent Friends on ESPN 690. So we've been talking about a bunch of stuff today, but in the last hour, and really in my life for the last 2 days, I've been stuck on this comparison with the Detroit Lions. And I think it's a fascinating one. I think it's a good one because I think both these teams looked like they were on similar paths. Again, Doug Peterson is a year behind in the Dan Campbell chronological order of this. The Jaguars actually got a little bit ahead last year by essentially skipping a year. And now they take a step back. And so it's got everybody thinking, the Lions are so much better. And I really don't think that's the case. You can disagree. That's fine. I don't think their roster is that different than the Jags. I think their offensive line is different. I think you replace this offensive line with theirs, and you give the Lions this one, and you see 2 different results.
I'll even take it a step further. If you're looking at the defense, according to PFF, and you asked me earlier about PFF, that's why I'm going back there. I don't know how everyone else feels about the grading, but our secondary grades out better, and the linebackers grade out better here in Jacksonville.
And we know the tandem of edge rushers produced more.
Yes.
Even if they didn't grade out better, maybe.
Well, Hutchinson graded out better, but McNeil, I guess, on the right side isn't an end. He's more of an interior guy. Their end, Kaminsky, graded awfully.
So I've had people say to me on this question, Kasey, oh, no, they're better. Wide receiver, running back, this, that. I mean, if they are, to me, it's marginal. Offensive line is not marginal, is my point.
It's not even close.
It's not close at all.
And, again, I think age. We talked about age. I give you just Jared Goff, 29 years old, been through the ringer a little bit, coming out on the other side, much like a Baker Mayfield just did. Listen, Trevor, we're talking about 2 number 1 overall picks. Trevor, 24 years old, still trying to figure some stuff out. Got off to a bad start with Urban.
Through the year as well.
And I'll take Trevor all day. But Jared Goff might be on his way to his 2nd Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. Really good. And I think some experience has helped him this time of year playing the postseason the way he's playing and mistake-free and everything else. I also said identity. I think this, culture-wise, listen, Lions have a great culture. I think the Jags are fine culture-wise. They've really turned that. That's been a problem. I think identity is the problem. I think we know who the Lions are. I actually think even offensively, they know what they're trying to accomplish. They're in rhythm with each other. They know what they're getting from their OC. They know how to produce it. And in part, that's because their offensive line can block it. And they can utilize everything. I think the Jags, I don't know if we know their identity. Really don't. I don't know what their identity is 2 years in.
What do you think they want their identity to be? Because even on offense, like I know what the big pieces are, but I'm not sure that they want to be a throw-it-around-the-park kind of team.
Yeah, but I think Doug wants to be a score team.
A scoring team?
Yeah, like I think he's like, come catch us. I think he wants to be that. I think he's an offensive guy. I think there's bravado in that.
But you think they want to just live and die with the pass?
Not necessarily. No, because you've always brought this up. When Doug won the Super Bowl, it was closer run-pass ratio than everybody thought.
So, like, what is the identity on offense?
The problem is the identity you don't know. You can't run it because you don't have an offensive line to run it. So that's a problem. But I don't know. I don't know your answer.
Speed.
Well, I think
With
it's
guys
an
like
offensive
Zay, Calvin,
identity.
Travis Etienne.
I think it's an offensive identity. I think the identity of the Lions is you better bring your lunch pail because you're going to battle today. Even if we don't play well, it's going to be a battle. I'm not really sure that's the case here in Jacksonville. So I think identity is a problem. I think Doug Peterson's a really good coach. I'll continue to say that. I think Dan Campbell's proven to be a very good coach. So I thought about this part of it. Everybody's talking about Balky. And obviously the GM in Detroit's doing a nice job, right? Great draft. Everybody's going to kill the drafts around here in the roster build. I actually think there's more to like about the roster build than people will admit. I also think there are problems. We've discussed them today. Interior offensive line, interior defensive line, miscalculations, investment in the linebacker position. When's that going to show up? It hasn't completely yet. So certainly can be critical of it. But I think there's a missing step in here. And the Jags came close, it seemed like, to hiring an executive vice president with Trent and Doug back when Doug was hired a couple years ago. Didn't happen. They had the executive vice president with Coughlin and Caldwell and Marrone. It actually worked in 2017. Then you get too many cooks in the kitchen. And what's interesting about the Coughlin one is obviously he was a football guy and he'd won trophies, but he also knew Jacksonville. He knew what it meant to be a Jaguar, to have the Jaguars in this city.
He basically created what it meant to be a Jaguar.
He created it. If you go to the Lions, they have a guy by the name of Chris Spielman in their front office. And what he is, and labeled in their media guide, is a special assistant to the president, CEO, and chairperson. And that goes back to Sheila Ford, who is the principal owner and chairperson. I don't think Chris Spielman is picking players. I think that's up to the general manager. But I think Chris Spielman is a take it in, listen, be the pulse of the organization, relay stuff that he sees in the building every day to the owner.
He's the owner narc, yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's a negative way. I think this has really worked out in a positive way.
But how do you think they feel about it?
It doesn't matter. It's working. The bottom line is, in my opinion, he also knows what it means to be a Detroit Lion. He played there.
Very
guys like Campbell do too, and Glenn as well, I think. So this is where I say, Jags, go hire Tony Boselli right now. Tony Boselli's been around the game. People have flirted with his name about executive vice president. I don't think you need the executive vice president role here. It's another cook in the kitchen, if you will. I think you need a liaison. I think Shad needs a liaison to get what's really going on in the building. Because what happens in buildings in the NFL is it gets egotistical, me, and when the crap hits the fan, it's your fault, your fault, your fault. And there's concerns right now in Jacksonville. That's what's going on. So there's a power struggle. Is there one? I don't know. Do we really know? Are people saying stuff? Does Trent Baalke have the power? Does Doug Peterson have the power? Well, you know what? To find out, let's go to Tony Boselli because he's the one talking to Shad Khan and seeing it and is in meetings and can see how this stuff can be unraveling or unveiled and really the truth behind it all rather than noise. He's also not getting one person's opinion who's probably trying to save their job because it's a damn good one. And he's doing it because, sure, everybody's got an ego. Tony's probably got an ego. But he loves this place. He loves this organization. He loves the fans. He wants to do right. Nobody or few people more want to see a trophy in Jacksonville than Tony Boselli. With all due respect to Doug, and with all due respect to Trent Baalke, I think they mean well around here, and they want to see the organization do well. They also want to see themselves do well. They really want to see themselves do well first. They want to maintain their jobs, maintain their big paychecks, add to their legacies, add to their resumes, and of course they want to do it for Jacksonville. But Tony, or a guy like Tony, really wants to do it for Jacksonville maybe first. He's got all the accolades. He's a Hall of Famer. He wants to do it for what's right for the organization. And when things are going well, it's easy to do what's right for the organization. When things are not going well, in the NFL, where a level of toxicity already exists, you don't do things right for the organization, top of mind. You do things right for your survival, top of mind.
A couple of follow-ups here. Does this new position, we'll call it VP of Football Operations, does it have organizational say or power over the GM or head coach?
I think you got to figure that out.
In your optimal situation.
I think you want to make sure, if you were to do this, and I think this is why they didn't hire an executive vice president when Doug and Trent went together, is because you were already arranging a marriage, Casey. So you're already saying, okay, let's get Doug and Trent, and now we're going to add a third voice in here? I mean, come on. Like, that's problematic.
Correct.
So if you're going to do it the way Aaron's saying it, in my opinion, you better make sure all three guys are on the same page. Like, I would make sure these three people are on the same page. So if you bring Tony in, maybe you don't like Trent. You got to those discussions have to take place.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily talking about that, but hypothetically, let's say they're in the draft room or in the scouting room before the draft, disagreement, maybe the new VP of Football Operations has a different opinion than Doug or Trent. Do they get to pull the trigger or no?
Yeah, I would say in my role here, in this capacity that I'm talking about, in a perfect world situation, I don't think that person makes that call.
Okay, so they're just liaisoning between the owner and the football operations.
And they can be a voice, by the way. You don't think I think Chris Spielman's a voice, but I don't think he's a heavy voice in their organization.
I find it hard to believe.
I don't think he's picking players. I don't think he picked Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe. And I realize that some of these workplaces are maybe more collaborative than I'm willing to accept, but I do find it hard to believe that these men put in these positions, these high-ranking positions of power in these large organizations, these multi-billion-dollar organizations, are cool with just turning to another guy and going, well, you make the call. Like, these are guys who want the call. And then if you're putting someone in there who has no say, right? If you're saying to Tony or whomever, join the team, we need you to liaison between Shad, Trent, and Doug. To me, if I'm Trent or Doug, I'm wondering how much the owner trusts me at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? You're going to have to trust me that I'm paying you $10, $12 million, whatever the hell I'm paying you, and this is the way I've set it up. I'm just saying, if you don't like it, get out.
It's easy to become caustic or toxic at that point when you're bringing the person in versus when it was new when they were discussing it in the first place.
You have to create a situation where you're all on the same page. I'm looking at the situation in Detroit, and it seems like they've created a situation where we're all on the same page. I don't know how you get there, but get there. That's your job. You got to figure it out. I just know this from covering this league long enough. I know where even when it looks like you're on the same page, when it hits the fan, you don't get on the same page anymore. It's your fault.
Yeah, I buy that.
Our show's bad. It's Casey's fault.
I think
our
this
show's bad. It's your fault. It ain't my fault. I got too good of a job. I need the check coming in.
Definitely your fault. Your fault. I think the job matters more when you're not just trying to rebuild the football roster, when you're trying to rebuild the organization, foundation, the culture, all of that stuff, which is what Jacksonville was experiencing a few years back.
That's true.
I think once you've got that down, now it's just a matter of your player personnel guy and the guy calling the plays being on the same page, like you say. And I think if they're not, I think adding another author to the book doesn't necessarily make it happen.
I get why it could muddy it up. Casey, you like my idea or no?
No. Really? Not really. I think there's a position that could exist, but like that position to me is I don't care if you like either of these other two people. This is what we're hearing over here. This is what we're hearing over here. This is what the fans are mad about. This is what I'm seeing in your scenario if it's Tony Vaselli because I'm a Hall of Famer. That's it. I don't care if we like each other or not, but I've got my pulse, if you will, on what's happening here, here, and here. This is what I'm seeing, and take what you want. I don't think that person needs any, we should maybe draft this guy or do this or do that. I think that's just a a whole separate position that's basically just calling what he sees.
But Case, if me and you are the ones running the show at different positions, and then the owner of the radio station brings in Brent to be the go-between, don't you feel like every single thing you now say in front of Brent, you have to triple guess about how that's going to be presented back to the owner? Like, I'm not sure how that relationship works in that specific example.
Yeah, I think what you just brought up is a good example, but in your example, you guys just failed.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
like, why not make the change?
Well,
Like, if you want change enough to bring in a new body, why add to the bodies that didn't work?
here's part of the reason why I think, at least this is my view from the outside looking in on this situation. And really, if you follow Trent Baalke's career, what do you trust?
No, that's the thing. That's the whole thing.
What do you trust?
Yes.
And right now, my view of it is Shad and Tony and everywhere, Khan, they trust the situation, which I think is great that you can trust the situation. Should you trust the situation? I think that's the second one. Like, I don't know the answer to that. But I know in the last 2 weeks since they blew this thing, you're hearing a lot of stuff. And if to Sean's earlier question, what's true? Well, give me Tony Baselli in a role to tell me what's true. Because I'm not there every day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Shad. I'm seeing it. I don't know. Is Trent trying to save himself, or is he telling me everything?
Yeah, to me, that's the only role. And then at that point, you don't necessarily need them for a new position. You just need someone to come in there and tell you who to fire. Because that's essentially what you're doing.
You basically need a secretary.
You're getting the guy, well, not a secretary, but you're getting the guy on the floor of the factory to go, all right, where are the problems actually versus where my managers tell me the problems are, so that you can determine what changes need to be made. Outside of that, you're trusting these two guys who claim maybe they claim that they're on the same page to fix whatever it is they think they can fix. I think that if Balky and Peterson have met with Khan, which I believe they have, and they didn't lose their jobs, which they haven't yet, then I do think they're still kind of on the same page. Whether the page worked for them this past season or not, they both have a belief in what they've got. They both believe change is on the way. The turnaround is going to be easier, quicker, and cheaper than it has in the past. But bringing in this hypothetical VP of football operations, whether it be Tony or somebody else, to me says, Shad's going, I'm not sure if I'm buying it, and I can't tell.
How about the part of it that I have that it means something being in Jacksonville?
It matters.
It matters. Like Carolina just did this with Dan Morgan, right?
Yes.
Now, I'm not telling you that John Lynch, does it matter? It looks like it matters in Detroit to have people that are connected.
But you just told me they're not making personnel decisions.
Yeah, I don't think they need to make my view on it as a guy like Spielman's not making personnel decisions. I don't know exactly what the meetings are like and how it works and whatever.
Sure.
I really don't. But I also don't know here. See, that's part of the problem. And maybe that's a big criticism of Shad here in this whole situation. It's fine when it's working. In the arranged marriage, how many times have we complimented this that, wow, it's working. That's pretty good. Until it goes sour.
Yes.
Like it did the last 6 weeks. And we really don't know who the heavy is. You want to read Twitter? They'll tell you Trent Baalke's a heavy. You want to see the guy with the Super Bowl ring? Well, I say Doug Peterson should be the heavy. Who is it? Like, who's got the bigger voice? And here's one thing about Urban. He had the bigger voice. You know who had the bigger voice when it was Shad, Coughlin, Caldwell, Marone? Coughlin. Tom Coughlin had the voice, which is why he eventually got fired.
Yeah.
Which I also would warn, if you want people in the organization, from Fred Taylor as a running backs coach or Mark Brunell as an OC or a QB coach or Tony Baselli in any role, you're eventually going to fire them most likely.
Most likely.
Unless you're in this kind of role where it's a liaison and not a decision-making one. This is less decision-making. This is more boots on the ground.
Just feels like semantics.
I don't know, man.
To me, and maybe my thinking is different than other people, I need a reason why you're making this change, the VP player personnel, and the only one I can arrive at is you don't trust the guys you've got, and at that point, what are you doing with them still?
Yeah, it's a very fair point. And I'm not saying it's this trio. Maybe it's not this rendition. Maybe it's too late to your point in the game. Maybe you should have done this at the first place. But when they got hired.
Now, let's say you blew out the coach and the GM, or you blew out one of the two, bringing in a VP of personnel to help you with that search because you want a voice different than the guy calling the plays or a voice different than the guy only in charge of personnel. I'm good with that. Like, that makes a lot more sense to me. But in the case where you've got these guys already here and you're not firing them, it just seems real messy to me.
Well, and I get that. And I think you might be right. You know, as we talk this out, maybe you might be right. But one of the things we believe, and we don't know, we believe, Casey, that Trent Baalke's still here is because Shad needed a guy to help him through the process to hire the coach.
That is a thought.
Who was it? Remember how many times we asked, who was it? Who was in the meetings?
Mm-hmm.
They really didn't have a football guy.
They had Tony and they had Trent.
So now again, whenever this takes shape, I like this role, especially for a guy like Baselli, because now you have a football guy that can help you through the next process. Because here's one other thing that I think Tennessee's in a bit of trouble here in the same way as the Jags have been in trouble here in other organizations. You either got to reset it and let them both go, or you're playing with fire. Because that's the one thing. When Caldwell and Gus Bradley were here, they did look aligned. You never heard anything, even with the losing, until it finally came to fruition like late in that fourth year. But they were in it together from day one. They were aligned. This is not the case. Like, Trent was already here, and some of that was Urban, and then those 21, well, that was a good draft. And now you get Doug, and now Doug's coming in, and who's the bigger voice? So now if you do let Trent were to retire, or you let him go, now you've got to get a new GM. Like, I think when you do this stuff, the one thing I've seen from around or looked from watching this, Casey, when you reset the damn thing, reset it all.
Right. Then everyone's on the same starting ground.
Yeah, I think what the Chargers just did that. They were like, okay, you're both out. And the Chargers have done it multiple ways because Telesco was there for a long time.
That's true.
But the Raiders just did it because they're like, okay, new GM. Here's Telesco, just got hired today, it looks like.
Commanders.
Along with Pierce. The Commanders are doing it. The Jags have done it that way. But that alignment is so critical. And if you don't have that's my point of this. That's where it kind of came up. If you don't know if you have the alignment, well, then you got to have some buffer in there to figure it out.
It's an interesting point you make, and it makes me wonder. You often see head coaches who are loyal to some of the coordinators they've worked with over the years. Where are the GMs bringing head coaches with them? Where are the head coaches bringing GMs with them? Because that's an alignment that you need as well to be successful.
Yeah, I think it's critical to have it. And the bottom line is, when it goes well, it's good. The sign of splintering is when failure happens and people are afraid that they're going to lose their job. And that's what these guys are paranoid in this league, because it's a big job to lose and it's a highly scrutinized position. And that starts the finger pointing game. Jags got to figure that part out. By the way, the other thing is, if you have this position, then you all go talk to the media at once. Where are you, Trent Baalke? How's it going? Who made the call? What's up with your linebacker? How about the offensive line? Is there a power struggle? Hello, Trent. Are you going to answer these questions? Are you guys still aligned? We have no idea. And when you don't have an idea, everybody makes stuff up. It happened in Jacksonville for like years and years and years. Jags need to show some alignment, maybe answer some questions. We'll be back on ESPN 690.
With stores in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra, it's been Underwood's business to have what she wants since 1928.
We're dealing at Best Bet St. Augustine, the only card room and sports bar in St. Augustine, Florida. With nonstop action, poker games of all limits, exciting tournaments and table games, and a sports bar showing all the action, Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. Don't miss our delicious dining options, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our always popular freshly made sushi. Best Bet St. Augustine is located at 800 Marketplace Drive off exit 311, where I-95 and State Road 207 meet. Learn more at bestbetjacks.com.
Jasmine is Northeast Florida's only LGBTQ+ youth center, offering health and mental health programs, housing supports, and teen and family initiatives. Jasmine is the safe place our LGBTQ+ young people need right now. Partner to support our effort. Visit jasmine.org today.
Now, the first alert forecast on ESPN 690.
Mostly cloudy skies continue tonight with temperatures only dipping down into the 50s and 60s with a brief shower possible at times as well. There will also be some inland fog northwest of Jacksonville. Some sea fog develops along the coast tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, it's partly sunny and warm with temperatures in the middle to upper 70s, approaching 80 degrees by Thursday. From the Action News Jax First Alert Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Trevor Gibbs.
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds, proud to offer a huge selection of both lab-grown and natural diamonds at the lowest prices guaranteed. The Gun Show is back at the Maxwell Snyder Armory on Normandy Boulevard this Saturday and Sunday. Buy, sell, trade, and browse a huge selection of guns, knives, ammo, and more. Doors open at 9 a.m. $10 to enter. See you at the Gun Show.
In celebration of the 10th anniversary, Disney's Frozen is coming to podcasting with a brand new story. The Frozen podcast features Anna.
I want to know about that.
Elsa.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Olaf.
I don't get it.
And Kristoff.
Are we going on another adventure?
Oh, no.
Of course. Experience Disney Frozen Forces of Nature, available now on your favorite podcast app.
Get deals on what you need during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Right now, save $20 on select 5-gallon ceiling paint or primer by HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Plus, get 15% off and earn 3 times bonus points when you buy 4 or more Purdy products. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts of any. Valid 1/15 through 1/26. Subject to change.
Perfect Rack Billiards has a deal for you. 50-cent Wing Fridays during lunch. Get out of work early, get a head start on the weekend, or just take a lunch break. 11:30 until 3 p.m. on Fridays. Every Friday, Perfect Rack Billiards with 50-cent wings for lunch on Fridays. A perfect place to stop in Murray Hill. Play some pool, play some darts, maybe some shuffleboard. Now, that's a heck of a lunch break. And get those 50-cent wings on Friday just to make it better. 11:30 to 3 p.m. on Fridays at Perfect Rack Billiards.
Hi, I'm Mike Lister, the founder of Talon Wealth and the host of the Guarding Your Nest Egg radio show. Like you, I love this country, and I'm very thankful for those that protect us along with our freedoms. That's why for active military and active first responders, if you decide to work with us, Talon Wealth isn't going to charge you any advisor fees. We're happy to explain all the details, but most importantly, thank you for your service.
Visit guardingyournestegg.com to find out more.
Advisory services through Talon Private Wealth and SEC registered investment advisor. Lord license D056341.
Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. August 29th, Daly's Place. With special guests, Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. A great night of incredible rock.
Have you ever walked a dog without a diaper? Or been so hungry you ate more than 3 sandwiches? In the wrong state, that could make you a criminal. There are ridiculous laws on the books everywhere, like laws that criminalize HIV. These HIV laws are out of touch with science and our society. They ruin lives by perpetuating stigma and racism. And they're on the books in over 30 states, maybe even here. It's time to repeal these ridiculous laws. Take action at healthnotprisons.org.
My name is Ariel. I moved to the U.S. at 19. I spoke no English and I struggled finding job opportunities. Everything I have, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and getting my high school diploma at age 22.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Action Sports Jax. Watch, listen, subscribe. You can watch us on CBS 47 and Fox 30. You can listen right here on ESPN 690. And you can subscribe to our YouTube and podcast, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Action Sports Jax. Watch, listen, subscribe. All right, that's it on my comparison of the Lions.
All right, good show. See you guys tomorrow.
I'm serious. I lost sleep over that for 48 hours.
You've really been harping on it at least today, so I guess it's been a 2-day thing for you.
Yeah, it really has. I think it's fascinating. I told you this in the break a couple breaks ago. I believe it was around 2011 when Gabbert got picked, but it might have been 2013-ish when Gus and Dave took over. The Rams had been a crap organization. I mean, if you looked at like the last 5-8 years, something like that, it was the Titans, the Rams, and the Jags with some of the worst losing records. And so I was like, okay, this is a good comparison. Let's see where they go. Now, the Rams might have started a year earlier or a year behind, whatever it was. Let's see where they go. And eventually, we got to the point where the Jags had no chance in this comparison. they weren't even on the same planet. But I do think, again, we're a year difference here. It's a year difference between Detroit's build
timeline,
and the Jags. And if you don't give credit to the fact that the Jags had to overcome the urban stuff, then you're not being honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to give – that's a difference. Like, that's a whole year and maybe a negative year for the quarterback. The only thing good that came out of Urban is they drafted very well that year.
Yeah, but as far as the players and the play goes, you're not talking about a bad year where, like, you stalled out for a year. You went backwards.
And had to fix a lot. So, like, I just had somebody comment, a team with a good culture doesn't collapse like the Jags did. I guess you could argue that, but I don't believe it. I think I just don't believe it. I think this is a team that we gave all the credit in the world to, with a bunch of the same guys in that locker room, for not giving up on the season last year and being 3-7 and making a run.
Is that culture?
So how can that be? Well, if you think collapsing is culture, then that's got to be culture.
I don't know that I agree with the statement.
Why not?
Only because a collapse.
No, you know what I think it is, Aaron? I think it was play. I think you played like crap down the stretch.
But to me, a collapse feels different than going on a run or having momentum. And granted, one's positive momentum, one's negative momentum. I'm trying to think this out as I say it to you. I feel like a team with a good culture, I don't know, maybe, again, this is just a daydream, but I feel like a team with a good culture rallies around each other, and a team without a culture wouldn't, but
that's why I think culture gets overplayed, man. I think
you might be right.
Again,
it's a little bit of semantics.
The Jags had a bad culture in 2021. Urban Meyer created it. The toxicity levels were extremely high.
Yes.
That is culture.
Yes.
Culture is people want to quit. People don't want to play. Marvin Jones wants to leave the facility because he hates Urban Meyer. Like, that is culture.
Yes.
Identity, good play, healthy play. Like, that's part of what goes into wins and losses. Can you sneak out a game because of culture somewhere in there? I'll give it to you. But I think there are plenty of good cultures that still lose football games. Do you think the Bills have a bad culture? Is that why they can't beat the Chiefs?
I'm actually unsure, but that's just because of the example.
Well, but did that bad culture get them 6 out of 7 wins to get them in this position?
Yeah,
like,
no,
so
that's a
I don't
good
know how
point.
you
Sure.
interpret that. Like, how I can do this all day with teams. Listen, when we don't give enough, we all want to find this answer. It's the GM, it's the offense coordinator, it's the coach, and we never want to sit here and just say they sucked. Like, Josh Allen missed a play underneath, missed the guy in the end zone, Diggs missed a long ball, the kicker missed a kick. That is why they lost the game the other day. I mean, you can give a million other reasons, but I don't think it had anything to do with McDermott. I don't think it had anything to do with Bean, the owner, the fans, the culture, the identity. They lost the game because in the last couple of minutes, they didn't make a freaking play.
But losing a game and a collapse are two different things. Like, I think about the Eagles, right? And I go, all right, well, maybe they had a bad culture and that's why they collapsed, but it's also the team that was 11-1. So did they have a good culture when they were rolling off those wins? And if they did, can a culture get dismantled halfway through a season? I don't know.
Yeah, did the A.J. Brown stuff? Did they lose?
But is that culture killing? Because an event in the locker room could screw up the team and you can spiral, but I don't know if it means that your culture is dismantled.
Yeah, see, I think we try to play this however we want it. Did the Dallas Cowboys lose in the playoffs, Casey, because of culture? and because they had a bad culture.
Well, some would
and
say
their
yes.
players are so good that they overcame it all year to win 12 games in the NFL.
But I do think some would say the culture of losing in the playoffs is a real culture in Dallas, Casey.
I think they lost because they got beat.
Every time in the playoffs?
No, I'm talking
Dak's
about
1-3.
I'm talking about this year. They lost because they got beat.
All right, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's one thing to lose a game. I think it's hard to blame culture. But if you lose a game that everyone said you were going to lose all season, before they knew who you were playing, before the season started, I think we were all, I mean, I know I was. Every year I make the joke.
I don't know. I lost $50, Casey, on that. I didn't say they were going to lose.
I do think that's a culture. And I don't know why, but it's clearly a thing for Dallas.
Yeah, I think sports are a thing. I don't know. I mean, the Red Sox lost for 86 years, man, and I don't know if they always had a bad culture.
No, you don't have a bad culture for 86 years.
No, obviously, but I mean, is there a thing there where you get to a certain point with a coach along the way who makes you feel like as long as we're good through the season, it's okay?
Yeah, listen, I think this is where we need to applaud Campbell. He's done a great job in this kind of sense. I do think that if they had some guys go down the way the Jags did, for whatever reason, I think their identity of scratching and clawing would help them more. The Lions defense was atrocious last year.
Bad.
They had nobody on that defense. They got better, Casey, as the year went on.
Still have almost nobody on that
crushing defense. The Jags. They got better, and they had nobody. So, that's good coaching. I also think that's kind of the identity of their football team to be like, we're going to try so hard that we're going to win some things that you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's more so like a type of person, type of people, type of...
But that could be a culture.
But that's sports, is my point, too. You can do that.
See, it feels like if you want to do this, everything can be a culture.
I mean, technically, again, it's a game of semantics at that point, but I do think scratching and clawing and grit is a culture.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a difference. I think that's an identity.
Like I look at Tomlin, that's a culture and an identity.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are a culture.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tomlin is.
Well,
I'm so lost.
He pervades the culture, but yes, the culture in Pittsburgh is this hard hat, we're going to fight until the end no matter what the score is kind of deal.
Yeah. I just don't, I guess, this goes to, okay, we don't say this about Vrabel in Tennessee last year when they collapsed. Was that a culture? They were decimated with injuries.
I mean, I think that the franchise thought it was a culture thing because they got rid of the guy after winning Coach of the Year.
Well, I mean, we're talking about last year's collapse.
I understand.
When they brought him back.
Right.
But
and they didn't see a change in the culture.
Yeah. Well, they brought in a new GM.
Yep.
That then ended up turning into this. I just didn't see anybody talking about, the culture's bad. I mean, you would have got rid of it then if you thought that was the problem. So, I mean, maybe we're playing a little semantics here. I just have a hard time believing that the same team comes back and we applaud what they all are about in that locker room. And then we applaud what they're all about for 8-3. And then we say all of a sudden, everything you guys had going in that room, in that building, that's why you lost.
People are saying Jags have a bad culture. I haven't seen that.
Well, that's people with a good. That's how we got on this. If you have a good culture, you don't lose 5 out of 6. Is what's being said. Mm-hmm. You don't collapse down the stretch.
Sean called back. He said culture is ownership. That's where it starts.
He's on the owner today.
Not literal ownership. Not Shad Khan, but owning a thing. Right? What is he saying?
I believe he means it starts at the top. Ownership.
Huh.
I could be wrong. I'm not
buying that. But if it's what I thought he was saying, which is
we're really getting in the weeds. We need we need some sports psychologist.
I'm so lost.
Can you call Tony Robbins? Is he busy right now? Maybe he can tell us about culture. I do think owning the thing, you can't have a healthy culture without that accountability, without owning that culture.
Yeah.
You can say you want to be the hard hat team, but then you got to go play like it. You got to own that identity.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and that's why I think Detroit does a good job. I was trying to say this, if you take the 4 teams that are left in the playoffs, and I don't know where this one fits, okay, in our whole culture, identity, and all this stuff talk, but I think they know who they are. So I think when Detroit's running their offense under Ben Johnson, Casey, they know what they're trying to do, and they're confident they can do it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, they do.
You look at Baltimore and you would say, okay, maybe our identity is we're a hard hat team, a veteran team. We're going to punch you in the mouth. We can play that way if you want, mud it up if you want. But they know who they are around Lamar Jackson. They have finally figured that out. I think that's why they're having so much success.
Mm-hmm.
You look at San Francisco, and I think they know who they are. Now, their question is more, can that quarterback make it happen?
Sure.
But that's more of a game by game, day by day. But they know what they're trying to do. That scheme works. They understand what they're doing. They know what they're doing with McCaffrey. They're working around him. They know what they're doing. And I think the Lions are, obviously, we've been talking about them a lot. I think they know. I really think in the last 6 games, to go back to like Maurice Jones-Drew's comment of the quicksand stuff, the Jags couldn't even look what they were trying to do because they were trying so hard not to mess up.
Yeah.
So you lose who you are. Like, that's what I don't know if that's a culture thing. I just think they lost who they were because of bad play, poor play, and too much of it. And then on top of that, injuries and other things keep mounting up.
ChatGPT checking in on the difference between football culture versus football identity. Culture typically referring to the broader social and behavioral aspects, which could include, but is not limited to, not just what's happening in the locker room, but fan interactions and rituals, traditions, the overall atmosphere associated with that team, versus the identity, which is much more specific to the team or the actual sport itself, where a run first, punch in the mouth team kind of thing.
So
personal connections, emotions, and allegiances tied to football, more identity than culture.
So we're breaking records. Sean called again because I was spot on about what he was talking about, and he thinks you're an idiot, Aaron. So, Sean, without further ado, tell Aaron how dumb he is.
Sean, let me hear it, Sean. Let me hear it, Sean. Sound off.
It's about time you don't pick on me, Sean.
Let's go, Sean. Tough guy.
I need you guys to understand this, okay? I need you guys to look at it from an outside perspective.
Thank you. Great call. Let's move on.
You have when you think of the Dallas Cowboys, you think of Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones, he's loud, he's obnoxious, he believes his own hype. I mean, everything about the Dallas culture is Jerry Jones.
Yes.
Everything about Robert Kraft, he's decisive, he's direct, he knows exactly how he's going to do it and when he's going to do it before it's actually done. That's the Patriot way. It's always been that way. Jim Irsay, a guy who believes his own hype, a little arrogant at times, off the rails. Indianapolis. I mean, Baltimore Ravens, their ownership, they're from Baltimore. They are Baltimore to the core. I mean, like, if you think about ownership and the way they actually go about doing, and the owners go about doing their thing in the NFL, the teams represent those owners beautifully. Shad Khan, he's passive. Jacksonville, the Jaguars are a passive team. They don't show any aggression. They don't show any actual real fight. And then when they do, they get rid of them. Shad Khan is a passive owner.
Sean, who owns the Chiefs?
Who owns the Chiefs? Don't know. Top of head.
They have a good culture, but you wouldn't know it if you're thinking about the ownership. I get it in some cases what you're saying works because I'm kind of with you, especially on teams like Dallas. And there was one other in there he mentioned early on that I was like, yeah, he's got a good point here. Patriots, Robert Kraft kind of leading the charge on that. But I look at the Steelers.
By the way, Sheila Ford is, she doesn't, I wouldn't think she fits the culture at all in that sense.
What do you mean? She bites kneecaps all the time.
She wasn't even involved with the team a couple of years ago. Or like, when I think the Steelers, I know the Rooneys own them, but I don't think Rooneys when it comes to the culture.
But how do you not think the Rooneys? They're hardcore. They're tough. They're just, they don't shut down. They keep going. Their backgrounds is literally who the teams are. As far as the older people, unfortunately the older ladies, they probably, I'm not sure if they have help or anything like that to help mitigate, to give some effort away. I'm not saying they can't do it on their own. I'm just saying.
It sounded like it, Sean. Are you trying to say something here?
No, I'm done.
Cool. Sean, we appreciate you, man. Listen, I think you bring up a good point. It's an interesting point. It's an interesting dialogue. Thanks, man. Appreciate the call. I think it does fit. But again, this goes back to what I say a lot about this, guys. I think you can make fit what you want to make fit.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this team was good enough to be 8-3 and playing for the top seed. And we seem to want to ignore the fact that the culture, the owner, the GM, the play caller, the coach, the locker room was good enough to be that. But then you're saying they couldn't have been it for 17 weeks. For all these other reasons. Other than they played like crap.
Maybe they just lost. Maybe they just lost football games.
Like,
maybe all this stuff that we're trying to dig way too deep in, maybe they just got beat a bunch of times.
I don't remember the parade of believers you're talking about at 8-3. Like, I remember the city being happy with the record. I remember some of the power rankings having them up in the top 3. What I don't remember is everyone going, this is what it's supposed to look like, because we weren't.
Well, there were some flaws in the system, but the bottom line is they were playing for a number 1 seed, and amongst, like, the record said it, and everything said it.
Yeah, but, I mean, did we really believe that they were a number 1 team?
No, but we definitely didn't believe they were going to lose 5 out of 6 at that moment. Not for what they had done they went 17-5 over a 22-game stretch or something.
Yeah, you're right.
Just ain't neat. It's not simple. It's just not neat enough for us, I guess.
I think it comes down to there are just a lot of roads that lead to the destination.
It's what I say. The NFL is a beautiful mess because you can have your thought, Sean can have his reason why, I can have my reason why, and nobody really knows.
Sean definitely doesn't know, though.
I thought he was on something there for a minute.
He sounded like he really has no idea what he's talking about.
Agree. Back on ESPN 690.
Reading Casey.
Brent and Friends is sponsored by Best Bet, now open in St. Augustine.
Here we grow again. Terry Norvell here from the Young and Norvell Show announcing our new expanded hours as we are now on weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's right. You now have a standing lunch date with me and my broadcast partner, former Gators basketball star and current SEC network analyst Patrick Young, every weekday for 2 solid hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on ESPN 690. You supply the lunch. We provide the most compelling sports talk in town. Find out for yourself weekdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Catch the Young and Norvell Show on ESPN 690.
This year, I resolved to have a whole new view in life.
Nice. So what are we talking? New attitude? Maybe new glasses?
Nope. New windows and doors from American Window Products.
New view. I see what you did there.
They're Jacksonville's oldest family-owned replacement window and door company. Great prices, selection, professional installation. They look great, too. And you can save $250 off any entry door and free installation on 6 or more windows in January when you call 731-2247 or visit AmericanWindowProducts.com.
Thanks. I'll give them a look.
Hey, boss, if you could have 3 wishes right now, what would they be?
Look, Sunshine, we're supposed to be casing the house here. Pay attention.
I'll go first. I wish for Lester Jackson to move to the Galapagos Islands. Oh, and he takes Safe Touch security with him.
If it was only that easy.
Yeah, imagine life as a crook without Safe Touch. Wouldn't have to worry about the 2-way communicators, the rapid response time.
Don't they have lizards or something in the Galapagos?
Well, Safe Touch security has 5 layers of defense. 5!
You know, instead of bothering with a no more Safe Touch wish, just wish for $10 million.
You're no fun.
Very true. Now let's get back to reality and the crooks are us golden rule. Stay away from Safe Touch houses.
Yeah, they're called marine iguanas, by the way.
I knew that.
Crooks know to stay away from Safe Touch houses. Hi, I'm Lester Jackson with Safe Touch Security System. No one beats our technology or our price.
Right now, get up to 50% off security packages during this once-a-year deal. Call 888-723-8682 or go to safetouch.com. State license EF2000195.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment.
Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Start learning a language today at Babbel.com.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank, non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. This month, you can get 50% off a Connecticut K5 drinking water system with a purchase of a Connecticut Premier Series softener. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Have you Googled yourself lately? Are there negative posts from an ex-employee or from a former client? Maybe an outdated news article or sensitive personal information about your family? Search engines don't always get it right. But right or wrong, it's your reputation on the line. That's where Reputation Defender by Norton comes in. One of the most trusted names in online reputation repair, Reputation Defender has been fixing people's search results for over 15 years. Their cutting-edge approaches help you to wipe away unwanted information in your search results. They also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, helping you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. Take control with Reputation Defender. You can start by getting your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 to speak to an expert. That's 800-401-6681.
This is Brent and Friends with Brent Martineau.
You don't even like your quarterback.
Kasey Kuhrts.
You don't even like your team.
And Aaron Schachter.
I don't even like myself, guys. Do you know me?
On Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. ESPN 690.
And by the way, just to confirm that it is a Save Myself NFL, all you got to do is look at Philadelphia.
Yeah, man.
Nick Sirianni.
Everyone's out but me.
By the way, I give credit. Doug has a track record of not pointing fingers.
Supposedly, this was got him fired last time around.
Got him fired. He was loyal. Now, you guys think he's loyal to a fault. But Brian Johnson out as Eagles coordinator. I mean, listen, Sirianni replaced them, coordinators, because they both got head jobs, and he couldn't do it.
He actually replaced his defensive coordinator twice.
And he couldn't do it. Yet his job's safe.
For a year. For the offseason.
For 6 months or whatever. I'm not going to get into this draft stuff until tomorrow. How's that?
Appreciate that, man.
It's great.
Well, we got another day tomorrow.
Nobody's mad at you.
All right. Well, I didn't know how he meant it.
Some of the folks are mad.
I ain't mad.
Is Sirianni, I think he's got one more year left in his deal, doesn't he?
I would think it would have been longer than that. Everybody's signing at least 5-year deals now, it feels like.
It's just interesting to me when you blow up all your coordinators, but you're able to recruit guys. I guess everyone likes an opportunity, right?
Well, I think that, I believe that's pretty tough in Philly to do that right now. Now, you're right. Everybody needs a job. It's a good job. There's only so many of them. But I think that was a problem here in Jacksonville many a times. Always pointed to that. That's why I always said Gus Bradley's biggest mistake was Jed Fish, because then he was playing catch-up on the OC position because nobody wanted the job. It was Greg Olson, and then they finally did find it, but it was too late to find it and Hackett because that seemed to work with Bortles. But see how that's worked for Hackett since. But
not too good.
Yeah, I think it's really tricky because I think people from the outside who have families and want to say, hey, I'm going to go here for 3 years or 5 years, and you feel like you want to do that, even though we know that's an unrealistic thing a lot of times in the business. It's hard to go to a place where you think, and the whole world thinks, if Philly doesn't figure it out,
everyone's
they're
out.
Gone.
Especially if you've just
hard.
moved to like the last 1 or 2 years in a row, which a lot of these guys will do. They'll take this job here and then upgrade next year, and then suddenly there's an opportunity that comes calling, and you've moved 3 times in 3 years.
And again, I think people miss that part. Maybe I know this is being portrayed as loyalty, and maybe you're right, and maybe it's not the blame game, or maybe it's. I think Casey and Aaron, I think you guys both have said this. If you're firing Press Taylor around here, you're firing yourself essentially because you're just admitting that the offense was bad. Well, maybe this is also who am I getting to replace him? Because we could be on the hot seat next year. It could be that. So you got to keep it together. And keeping it together can also work. I give you Stefanski who looked like he might have been on his way out, and there were rumblings about that, and then he's in for Coach of the Year. There's just no exact way.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's a beautiful mess. And that's why the NFL has 50 million people watching a product on Sunday evening.
It's what I call Casey in the commercial breaks, a beautiful mess.
I don't think you ever say anything beautiful about him.
Casey, you're a beautiful mess.
Hey, short overtime with Kuhrts and Middleton tonight?
Yes, sir.
Because then we have Seminoles basketball.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I'll allow it.
Florida State's on fire. They're hot, I think. Did they win last game? Maybe they lost. They had won 5 in a row. They played tonight.
Couldn't even begin to tell you.
Get ready for do your bracket in another month or so. We'll get it.
I'll be locked into that. No, it's fine. I'll just do what I always do. Go for it.
Thanks for hanging out with us. 96.9 The Eagle tomorrow. That's where you catch Aaron.
Come on.
Overtime with Kuhrts and Middleton next on ESPN 690.
With stores in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwoods has the largest American Gym Society credentialed staff east of the Mississippi River.
Let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do ball.
Have a good night, everybody.
I'm Mark Anajar. I'm Glenn Levine. I'm Ellie Anajar. Together, we're Anajar and Levine. If you've been hurt in a car crash, we'll fight to get you the maximum compensation you deserve. Call Anajar and Levine for your free consultation. 1-800-747-FREE. Main office, Jacksonville.
The January weather has been fluctuating, those temperatures dipping down in the evenings and mornings. Is your heating system safe to use? The team at Bold City Heating and Air specializes in system revitalization and optimizing your system so it runs safe and at peak efficiency. Schedule your winter system checkup for only $49 at boldcityac.com. Bold City Heating and Air can help you save hundreds of dollars on your energy bill, too. Get the checkup, save money, and make sure your AC unit is safe for all the weather conditions. Schedule online at boldcityac.com.
We're dealing at Best Bet St. Augustine, the only card room and sports bar in St. Augustine, Florida. With nonstop action, poker games of all limits, exciting tournaments and table games, and a sports bar showing all the action, Best Bet St. Augustine has you covered. Don't miss our delicious dining options, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and our always popular freshly made sushi. Best Bet St. Augustine is located at 800 Marketplace Drive off exit 311, where I-95 and State Road 207 meet. Learn more at bestbetjacks.com.
The Gun Show is back at the Maxwell Snyder Armory on Normandy Boulevard this Saturday and Sunday. Buy, sell, trade, and browse a huge selection of guns, knives, ammo, and more. Doors open at 9 a.m. $10 to enter. See you at the Gun Show.
Are you a real estate investor or have considered investing and want to know where you can put your money that offers solid returns and protects against market volatility? It's Rich Jones. I want to introduce you to DLP Capital, CEO and founder Don Wenner.
For more than a decade, DLP Capital has delighted our investors with consistent double-digit returns. Through the smart, conservative real estate investment strategy our company is built on, we have been able to achieve this with monthly distributions and tax shelters so our investors can keep more of their returns.
Dial **invest on your cell phone or visit highyieldreturns.net.
ESPN 690 is home for the Florida Sportsman Fishing Show hosted by Captain Rick Riles. Tune in every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. to find out what's biting now. Fishing so fresh, you can almost smell it.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
Hey, it's Brent Martineau. Check out Action Sports Jacks weekdays from 3 until 6 on ESPN 690.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. 43 games into his first season in Milwaukee, the Bucks have fired coach Adrian Griffin. The team's 30-13, second in the NBA's Eastern Conference, but concerns with defensive issues and felt the move was needed, explains ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski.
They looked at where this team was, how it was responding under Griffin, although the second best record right now, 30-13, that they have such a tight championship window with Giannis Antetokounmpo, certainly the Damian Lillard trade, which happened after they hired Griffin as head coach. They made a decision to make the change.
The Bucks plan to quickly pursue a small pool of accomplished and available veteran head coaches, Doc Rivers at the top of that list. Heat getting a much-needed jolt, acquired gifted scoring guard Terry Rozier for Kyle Lowry and a projected 2027 first-round pick. That is according to Woj as well. Rozier's having one of his best NBA seasons. Miami's lost 3 in a row, is 6th in the East. NFL, the Raiders working to hire former Chargers general manager Tom Telesco as their new GM, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you'll earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit Progressive.com.
WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. Live from the Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in your closet. The back of your closet. What am I doing here? Would you keep caviar in the back of your fridge with the ketchup and old milk? Yeah, I don't think so. So, what happened to us? I mean, have you seen my label? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Sure, I never really fit you quite right, and one of my pockets is so small you can't even squeeze your hand into it. But it's all about the look. And I look good. I need to get back out on the scene so I can be seen. You know, going to fancy parties, getting expensive iced coffees, Sunday fun days, okay? So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I don't know what I said there. I just knew it was time to probably get rolling. Hey-oh! Oh, yeah, that's similar effect, absolutely. Overtime with Kuhrts and Middleton. The Lightning edition, if you will. We've had some 11-minute shows at times. I don't think we've done anything less than an 11-minute show. Good thing
Really?
I don't know. I'm trying to think about this. Good thing yesterday wasn't an 11-minute show because we never would have made it on the air. I'm still salty about that.
Yeah.
But, we move on. But we are here for a shortened edition of the program. We'll be here until 6:30, and then it will be Brian Middleton's favorite, college basketball, as Florida State Seminoles will play, and you can hear it right here on ESPN 690. If you are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, you'll have to go to the radio or potentially the television. But if you're listening on 690 AM in Jacksonville or any of the closely located areas from there, you will be able to hear the game in just 25 minutes or so. Right before we came on, we were discussing all kinds of things, and I said there's a report, a little rumor that Jim Harbaugh may be sliding to the Chargers, in which you said multiple times,
"Heaven help the AFC."
That's not what it was, but it was pretty much that. Said it's going to be a problem. I'm intrigued why you think that's the case.
Jim Harbaugh?
Like from Michigan?
From Michigan?
Formerly of the San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers?
Yeah, not John.
What you know before that? Okay, I wanted to see how far back you want to go.
Jim played quarterback at one point.
Quarterback?
Bro's in the Colts Ring of Honor for some reason.
Colts Ring of Honor?
Played
They
there
got
for like
one of
4
those?
years. Dude,
There's enough players to get in there?
Well, they got Harbaugh, and he played like 4 years.
I know they've been around a long time, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying. They got enough players to have a ring of honor? They got people in the honor room,
He's
but
in
enough
there.
for a ring?
Uh-huh.
You got to have enough to make a circle.
Oh, it goes all the way around.
They're
There's
like
a
Johnny
ton of-
Unitas,
Ton of
Peyton
randos
Manning,
in. Ton of randos in. Like Harbaugh. Rando.
Marshall Falk.
In.
Does he
Yeah.
count?
I
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I think Jeff Saturday's in.
Oh, yeah, they started pulling those. Yeah, they did win the Super Bowl. Okay.
I think Marvin
Enough
Harrison's
for a
in.
ring, though? I don't know about that one. Indianapolis Colts fans, if you're listening.
Let me find the whole list.
Fun fact, I don't think you got it. My hypothesis is the Colts don't have enough great players to have a ring of honor, like a line of honor, like a short line of honor, yes. Okay? Very short line, but a ring?
Okay.
Boy, you need at least 8 to 10.
All right, this is a long list.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to do this.
I do.
Okay, well, go ahead.
You got Jim Irsay, who put himself in the ring. Bill Brooks, everyone knows him, the receiver from the 80s and 90s.
Everybody knows him.
Chris Hinton. Jim Harbaugh, who played from 94 to 97. I'm telling you, bro, they're just letting anybody in. Dungy, all right. Marvin Harrison, sure. Edgerrin James, yeah. Eric Dickerson, Marshall Falk, Jeff Saturday, Bill Polian, the GM, Peyton, Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Tarek Glenn. How about that? Colts Ring of Honor.
I think he's dead. Hey, you know what?
So to answer the question, I knew that's pretty decent for not caring about the Colts, that I knew that for some reason Jim Harbaugh, after 3 what were likely mediocre years in Indianapolis, they put him in the Ring of Honor.
Who lets more people in? The NBA Hall of Fame or the Indianapolis Colts of Honor? Or what do you call it? Colt
Ring
of
of
Honor?
Honor.
Ring of Honor.
I believe. Hey, it's funny.
Who lets more just people in? They just in here.
Now,
Holy
I would
smokes,
say
man.
that would be the case with the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well, I know how you feel about that.
Which
You
is
felt they
supposed
forced
to
this last
be
one. You
is
felt
supposed
it.
to be
Okay.
any minute, by the way. They're supposed to put new people in today.
Already?
Yeah.
Golly. Didn't we just talk about this like 2 months ago?
Yeah, it feels like it, but that was supposed to happen at 6. But let's get back on track. Maybe we'll have that, maybe we won't. I don't know.
Oh, boy.
Jim Harbaugh,
Yeah, Jim
why is that
Harbaugh.
going to be a problem?
Back to that. Jim
Because
Harbaugh.
I don't know if I'm with you.
Man, I saw Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, no.
I saw Jimmy Harbaugh.
I don't think he goes by.
I saw James Harbaugh
Okay.
take a San Francisco team who was led by Colin Kaepernick. Now, however you may feel about Colin Kaepernick now, don't let that jade you to what Kaepernick was on that Super Bowl run. Because people, if you talk about it now, they're like, oh, he drugged Colin Kaepernick and, as a quarterback to the Super. Nah, Colin was getting busy. It wasn't like 5,000 yards passing, but he was a mobile QB. He was hitting enough passes within the system. But still, you telling James Harbaugh, the cheeseburger cheetah, you telling me he has an upgrade at the NFL from Kaepernick, again, no knock on him, to Justin Herbert as your QB?
Mm-hmm.
This might be enough. Not that they want Austin Eckler. This may be enough for Austin Eckler to be like, I'll take less money.
I don't think they want him.
I'm telling you right now, a guy who's played quarterback in the NFL, mentoring a guy who has not really had, if we're looking at his coaches, I don't know who his QB coaches and stuff were. I don't know who he talks to in the offseason. I don't know who is his mentor, away from the team. But we'll have a guy who played the same position and will understand intimately those details that can help him, this is scary, make a jump in his play as good as Justin Herbert has been. And then everything kind of springs forth from there. Heaven help the AFC if this is the case.
You are out of pot. This
guy took a team to the Super Bowl. When you take a team to the Super Bowl,
there's barely electricity when this happened.
This wasn't like Mike McCarthy and I got Aaron Rodgers and I got Green Bay.
They had a defense.
They did have a defense, and that's fine. Maybe that can be, put into more order. But they had an alleged defensive genius, prodigy in Brandon Staley.
They were not
and that didn't help out.
Thank goodness the Jags didn't hire him, by the way.
So go the opposite way. And go the opposite way with a guy who's proven himself at the NFL and is coming off of proving himself and that he can outsmart every system in college.
In college, sure.
You see, like it was a blowout against his brother in the Super Bowl. It was a close game.
I'm talking about the college part of it. Bro's playing Bowling Green.
That's what he did. Bowling Green.
He did some
My point is this, though, man. That would be a get. That would be as far as the East is from the West. Brandon Staley to John Harbaugh.
Agreed.
Whoever pulls that off, did they fire somebody who hires coaches too? Is this a change in the
New
hiring?
GM as well.
Oh, that's why. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah, so
that'd be great. Go ahead.
Here's the deal. I am not as over the moon as you may be about this potentially working, but do you know why I was so annoyed by Brandon Staley that eventually turned to hate? Do you know what the origin is?
What?
Coming out of college, I was obsessed with Justin Herbert. I thought he was the GOAT. I couldn't understand why you would even consider picking anybody else than Justin Herbert. I'm talking first. That's how I felt about Justin Herbert. Big fan. And then I got a picture with him. It was pretty dope. But anyway, I thought it made no sense that you were going to hire a defensive coach when you needed to continue to develop Justin Herbert. So my beef originally started with they hired the wrong coach for a guy I was a fan of. That's how it started. Ain't that something? So to then now hire a guy like Jim Harbaugh, I would be thrilled for Justin Herbert. It makes a ton of sense. That stuff you were saying, right on. To the next level, right? Here's the problem. Brandon Staley's supposed to be a defensive guy. They couldn't stop anybody. Anybody. Couldn't stop him. That is the side of the ball that needs the most attention, in my opinion.
Casey?
Yes, sir.
No, I have something, but I'm not cutting you off. Go ahead.
You've seen Charger games for years, and we're in Jacksonville, I get that. But the Chargers are always at the end of the punchline. They score 45 and lose 48-45. That's how the Chargers go. So what has me intrigued here is, yes, you're probably making the move by Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert at this point, he got a second deal. He is what he is. Right?
Not necessarily.
Maybe not. I believe he's probably what he is.
Which is still what?
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Where else are you going here on offense? You're already scoring when your guys are healthy, which is a big part of this, 30-plus into the 40s. Can't stop anybody. And I wonder what that looks like with Jim Harbaugh. And this is the beef that I would have had if the Jags would have decided to hire the defensive coordinator from Michigan, whose name now escapes me. But there was a rumor of that last week. It obviously didn't happen. Jags make a different hire. But even the scheme that apparently Baltimore runs, I get it. I don't love that jump. I'm going to coach, because here's what college football is. More times than not, when you get to the national championship, this is not the case. But when you're a Michigan, more times than not, you have better players. You have recruited the 5 stars. You have the more talented people. So it's easy. Easy is a bad word. It is more likely that you are going to get the best out of those players than if you were the defensive coordinator at Bowling Green. Let's take another shot at Bowling Green. Why not? I don't love the idea of then coming to the NFL and finding out what that looks like. Jim Harbaugh's a different case. Played in the league, coached in the league, right? But if you're going to bring a mostly and majority staff from college football, I wonder how that transition looks when it's not just a little things, right? On their defense, they have major, massive fixes that they need. And I just don't know what that looks like if you bring a staff like that. So that would be my concern. Offensively, though, sure, absolutely. But you got to stop Mahomes. That's how you win in that division.
And you stop Mahomes by outscoring him. That's
You're
how
not going to do it if you can't stop him.
Well, listen.
57-50.
You say that. I don't know that. I know it hasn't been proven by many except Tom Brady. But I don't know if it's just as matter of fact because Tom Brady is no longer in the league that you can't do that with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We'll find out again this weekend. I think Baltimore has a chance to do it. Anyway, but Casey, this is the other point, man. Listen, if I'm the Chargers and I'm like, that sound all good. We got to fix stuff on the defense. Maybe we go somewhere else with another coach who may be defensive focused again. It's normal for the pendulum to swing back the other way. Mm-hmm. If they say they were going to go defensively, let's go offensively. Plus the fact with everything you named with playing the league, has success at both levels, nearly the pinnacle of success at both levels. And then again, it's not a knock on Colin Kaepernick, but it's like your quarterback was Colin Kaepernick, and we see what's happening in Jacksonville. Your GM was Trent Balky, and you did that?
That's fair.
Listen,
fair
man,
point.
You come on up here, okay? You come on up here, Jim, and I feel like we can do a lot of things where, at the very least, there's excitement, there's fun, and I've seen a couple of teams. I mean, you don't want to be associated with them right now when it comes to the playoffs, but they get to the playoffs, and throughout the year, a lot of fun watching them play. Miami Dolphins, high-powered offense. Mm-hmm. Dallas Cowboys, though defensively, they had a lot of stats that you would look at and be like, oh, they got a good defense, but a high-powered offense. And that can get you 10, 11, 12 wins in this league. And heck, it probably can get you a wild card win at the very least. Maybe. Not this year, but it can get you a wild card win. Right. So I think the Chargers need to take this in bits, take this in chunks, and be like, hey, we're terrible this year. All we try and do is make sure we don't waste any more of Justin Herbert's talent.
That's fair.
And then, to your point, we'll do some more stuff on defense. We'll try to piece some things together. We'll see what Harbaugh's thinking about. We'll see what else we can do scheme-wise. Because they got some players on that side. They got some real legit players on that side. At least career-wise, you look at them and be like, oh, yeah, I forgot so-and-so's on there. I forgot, Bosa's on there. I forgot Mac is on there. I forgot, what's his name? James is on there. So I'm just like, I'm going for it. There's excitement there with a proven commodity. I'm absolutely going for it.
Interesting. I guess we'll say that's the rumor. It's not official, but that's what is leaking out on X, if you will, that may be trending in that direction. Also on X, the Falcons are interviewing everybody. And
you got your interview yet?
What's up?
You got your interview yet?
Not yet. I have some really good ideas, too.
We should call them up. That should be a bit.
We should call the Falcons.
We should call up the Falcons and be like, hey, who do we need to talk to about getting an interview for the head coaching position? Not even joking right now.
That would be something. I don't think we get in. But they're interviewing everybody. So they are doing their due diligence. The Tennessee Titans have hired a coach. That happened.
Good for them.
Are you worried about this at all?
Good for them.
Good for, okay.
I don't want every team to have at least a head coach. That would be. That'd suck.
It feels interesting. The offensive coordinator from Cincinnati is the hire. It feels underwhelming. It feels strange to hire Vrabel, to fire Vrabel, a guy who has won Coach of the Year, a guy who and we just did a lot of this on Brent Friends, talking about culture and what Tennessee was, but Tennessee was a problem for a while. And it just feels like you do all of that, you fire that guy, and you bring in a guy who's an offensive coordinator with Cincinnati. I get it. Cincinnati has been good to great on offense at times, but most people are looking at the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals and Zach Taylor and saying, oh, yeah, that's why he's an offensive guy. Zach Taylor calls the plays. Brian Callahan is the one who is technically the offensive coordinator and is going to Tennessee to be their head coach. But this is something that surprises me. I mean, it didn't feel like they were getting a Bill Belichick type, but he may end up being a great head coach, but it's not something that has me worried in any way, shape, or form that they're going to pop up with the best coach in the division. I will say this, felt the same way about Shane Steichen.
What to say?
Didn't work. Didn't really feel that way about D'Amico Ryans. Thought he's going to be a good coach. Didn't think he was going to be great. Thought he was going to be a good coach. So that's where the coaching carousel lives as of now. We've got about 10 minutes left. Baseball Hall of Fame, I told you was happening. How about that? We got 3 new Hall of Famers, Brian. And here's the best part.
Or too many. Yeah, what's up? They all should be there this year?
They're all Hall of Famers.
Oh, look at you.
It's unbelievable.
They got the Kasey Kuhrts approval.
All 3 should be Hall of Famers. The first is Adrian Beltre. If you're a baseball fan, there is no debate. 3,000 hits, whole bunch of home runs. Adrian Beltre, fantastic Hall of Fame player. The second is Joe Mauer, the catcher from the Minnesota Twins. The former MVP, the batting champion, in one of the best hitting catchers in that time, in his prime. And then the third is Todd Helton from the Colorado Rockies, the first baseman, who has unbelievable numbers. You can say what you want about playing in Colorado because of the altitude and all of that, but 3 solid Hall of Famers, Brian. How about that? They still let way too many people in. These last couple years have been tough. I'm surprised to see no Billy Wagner. That's unfortunate. I thought he'd be a Hall of Famer at some point, and maybe still will be, or maybe it just hasn't came out yet.
What about Barry Bonds?
What about Barry Bonds? Is he a Hall of Famer?
Is he a Hall of Famer?
Well, I mean, no, but
he's not. My bad.
In my opinion, I would vote for Barry Bonds.
Bad. He went on the list. They don't put him on the list no more?
I don't believe they do.
That's wild, man. All right. All right, baseball. My bad, bro.
Yeah, see, that's the debate, right? You've got all these randos in my opinion. You don't have a guy like Barry Bonds. You don't have an Alex Rodriguez, Roger Clemens. And the steroid thing obviously plays a big part in that. But if I were voting, I would vote for them. Yeah,
they ain't got A-Rod in, man?
No A-Rod.
Yo, that's wild, man.
No A-Rod. So that's where that lives, Baseball Hall of Fame. That was I'm just glad finally something happened during our show. All the breaking news always happens after our show.
Oh, that happened just now.
Just now. I'm watching it.
I got you. You should have told me to play the breaking news sounder.
It wasn't that important. It's baseball.
It really wasn't. The names again one more time? Todd Helton.
Adrian Beltre.
Uh-huh.
Todd Helton.
Yeah.
Joe Mauer.
Yeah.
Never heard of any of them?
No, I've heard of all 3.
The way you said it, you were like, I don't know who these people are.
No, it was just very, the underwhelming. The Beltre one is a great name. It's like one that catches you, but Todd Helton. Todd Helton, your realtor.
It could be. Yeah,
Rich realtor, though. Played baseball. Joe Mauer, your plumber. Nothing wrong with being a plumber. They can be rich, too. I'm just saying the names are very basic.
Okay.
It's like Brian Middleton. Huh? How many of those are in the world? I've looked it up before. I've Googled my name before.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact.
There's probably a ton.
Bunch of white dudes. Not making it a race thing. Not many black dudes named Brian Middleton.
Really? Okay.
A lot of white dudes.
I'm not sure what we do with that information.
Oh, because I was saying interesting or basic names. I got a basic name. Not because a lot of white dudes have named that, just because there's Brian's a general name.
Not a lot of Kasey Kuhrts out there, from what I understand.
Especially with both K's on there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no shot.
Yeah, you throwing the people off. Yeah. Throwing the game off with that.
Absolutely. Hey, why did the Milwaukee Bucks fire their coach? They're like the second best team in the sport.
Because they said they don't go to the same university that the Dallas Cowboys go to. If it's not working, I don't care what the record is.
Yeah.
You got to get out of here. You got to go.
But I don't understand how, and I have watched very little to none Milwaukee Bucks basketball. They're 30-13. How's it not working? They could be the Detroit Pistons.
No, they couldn't.
Who are 4-39.
Got Giannis and Dame.
But I don't understand how 30-13 isn't like what.
Hey, listen, I don't know the background. I don't follow Milwaukee that closely. I've watched a couple of their games this season. I know they had a couple of game winners recently. Dame, hit his Dame time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was last week right there. Hey, listen, man, there could be a plethora of reasons, but I'll tell you this much. I know this much.
What you got?
He got fired because Giannis did not want him there. Plain and simple. Giannis's little brother is on that team, and I chop up their names, and I don't want to disrespect, so I'm not going to say his first name or his last name, okay? I can say Giannis because he's so great. You hear it all the time. You finally learn how to say the name, and that's great. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's like Thanos. It starts with a T. It's like TH something. He's on the team, and he is not good. Compared to his peers, he'd smoke me and you and Brent and Aaron and whoever else is in the building all at once. 6-on-1.
I think
he would.
6-on-1, we've got
6-on-1.
We've got it under control.
But
bro averages
for the
0.8,
NBA,
we got a shot.
He shouldn't even have a suit on. He shouldn't even have a suit on at the end of the bench.
That's tough.
But he's on the team, and that's because they want Giannis, and Giannis is there. You know what I mean? Giannis would – it'd be a problem if they did something. No one can tell me differently. So I don't know the exact reasons why the head coach for the Bucks is gone, but I can tell you Giannis Antetokounmpo did not want him there because he would have stood one of the three best players in the league right now. He would stand in the way of that if ownership, the GM, front office would have came to him and been like, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing. So, ask Giannis. Someone's going to ask Giannis.
I wish I could. I'd love to ask him, but I'm here, unfortunately. Fire Got Flares in the chat said defense is why.
Oh, okay.
Bucks play no defense. How about that?
All right.
You saw Cat score 60 and lose? Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, I think it was 62, wasn't it?
62, yeah. Lost the game. How you score 62 and lose?
Let's ask Michael Jordan, because I hear so much greatness about his wins. Didn't he score 63 in a game, in a playoff game, and lose?
Wasn't alive.
He did. YouTube's a thing, Kurtz.
You heard Joel Embiid scored 70?
Yo, and he was cooking. Ayo, now he was cooking. He was cooking. He could have got Kobe. I know people don't want to hear that. Don't jump at me, but he could have got 81. He could have got 82.
That's a lot of points. That's still 12 more.
By the time he was in the third quarter, I think he was like 22 away. But he was in the third quarter, and he was only 22
That's
points
a good
away.
Point.
So I'm like,
bro could have 90.
Let's just see.
That's crazy. I still can't get over that the Timberwolves lost. Bro, what do you scored 60? Just somebody else show up. One person.
Coach wasn't too happy about that.
Of course not. Where's Anthony Edwards? I don't know. Coming up next, FSU basketball for Brian Middleton. I'm Kasey Kuhrts. We'll do it tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. I want to eat a spicy chicken in my Tesla. Is it too much to ask?
The Weather Center is brought to you by Beards Diamonds. Proud to offer a huge selection of both lab-grown and natural diamonds at the lowest prices guaranteed.
We all make resolutions this time of year, and let's face it, most of them won't stick. But here's one that's not only easy to keep, but will help you feel healthier all year long. Navage. Navage provides quick, drug-free nasal relief by washing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. This time of year, when everyone is sick, Navage helps by sucking out germs, bacteria, and viruses trapped in our noses that cause us to feel miserable. And come allergy season, it does the same with dust, pollen, and other allergens. And unlike medications that can take time to help, if they're effective at all, Navage helps treat congestion symptoms in seconds flat, without drugs. This New Year's, resolve to use drug-free Navage to help you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all year long. Ask for Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, or find us online at Navage.com. Navage. N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-384-1340. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us